I, Paul Diffley, hereby call the Board of Education special meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the public. We have a quorum present with all board members in attendance. We need to approve the agenda A3. Call for a motion and a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? And do we have a student here? No, not yet. Okay.
Not yet, not for this one.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to B, study session, bond feasibility. Dr. Andrus.
Thank you, President Diffley. As we had adopted, as this body agreed back in May to proceed with a bond feasibility study, that's where the work that we've been engaged with. And so tonight we're going to spend time in this special meeting regarding where we're in the process of collecting information and survey and so forth, and just coming to listen to what the needs are of the community. And so we have our consultant with us, but I'm going to have our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Darren Daniel, introduce her, and she'll take over from there.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Andrus. Good evening, President Diffley and Board of Education. Tonight it's my pleasure to introduce to you, I know you've all spoke to her at different times, Bonnie Moss, who's the principal for Clifford Moss. Bonnie's been a partner of the school district for over 2 decades. She's helped us in prior general obligation bond measures. She was with us in Measure E back in 2006 and with Measure BB in 2014. And so we'd like to welcome back Bonnie to Merida Valley Unified School District to lead you through this study session. Water.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It is a real pleasure to be with you today. My name is Bonnie Moss, and I have the great privilege of working with Marietta Valley Unified, and have before as the district tackled its school facility needs at other years and different times. But here we are today in 2023. You all have said yes to a feasibility study, and we are in the thick of that work. But part of the process is to provide what I like to call an orientation of the process to the board. So that's what we are here for today. And just to give you a little bit about us, my firm, Clifford Moss, works with school districts across the state. And we have different levels of expertise, but 2 of them that matter here. One is about school bonds. We do a lot of school bond work, a lot of feasibility work around the state. And we also do what I call strategic communications work. And that is non-routine communications when there's something interesting that needs more community input. We tend to get called and help create a system for communications. And when we do work with schools, we practice some very simple core values, principles, and I want to review them with you because you'll see us practicing them all the way through this process. Number 1 is a recognition that every community is unique. Your community is unique. And so we don't want to come in and practice cookie cutter kinds of strategies. We want to really listen to your community. So paying attention to the uniqueness is a big piece of what we do. Secondly, we believe listening is a lost art. And while I'll be doing a lot of talking today, I do want to underscore that in our process, we spend a lot of time listening to stakeholders, listening to the community. And we'll be in that process. We've already started that process here in Marietta Valley. And then third, we practice people support what they help create. People support what they help create. So interestingly, that takes time. So we build in time to listen and to really hear the candid input from community. And that we will be taking into the session today. So our agenda today is to provide an overview and a big picture look at the process and to allow for Q&A, questions and answers. We're not requesting any action today. We're not expecting any action today. This is a study session item, so this is a great opportunity to just exchange. And I would encourage you to, wave me down if I'm talking too fast or you have a question at any point along the way. We do want to cover some background and context, and then we'll walk you through our approach to this process. And then if we haven't had any Q&A, we'll encourage that at the end and talk about next steps. Hope that works. Okay, things look tinier here, but if you look on the big screen, you'll see, I just want to start by saying thank you to all of you on the board. We asked to have a chance to talk with each and every one of you before this session. We asked all board members the 5 same questions, and what I was so impressed with was the candor and honesty that came out in those conversations. So I want to thank you all for your candor. And as I look at some of the comments that came from this esteemed group of leaders, I want to say that there was a lot of honesty there. Everything from, our school facilities don't match our high quality of education to I don't have enough information to make a decision right now, very honest. The financials have to make sense if we're going to move forward with a bond. That makes sense. I'm open. I'm curious to know what this community thinks about this. So lots of good candor there, and that is the way we move forward. So I want to bring us back to the fact that you're going to be hearing about an approach that has been proven here in Murrieta, twice that I've been involved with, but it's also a very legitimate and common process throughout the state. However, all of that really doesn't matter, but because what does matter is that this is about your schools, this is about your story, and so we're going to be paying attention to Murrieta Valley in a very school-by-school kind of way with the help of your team. Also, part of your story is the fact that you have all been through bonds before, or at least voters in your community have been through bonds before. There was a series in the 1990s of failed attempts, and then in 1998, Measure D came along. November of 2002, Measure K. In June of 2006, we passed Measure E. And then in 2014, Measure BB. So with those bond measures, there's a lot of history and very unique history. And the community was going through a different flavor of massive growth at one point, and now you're in a different spot. But you do have history with these bonds, and they're part of your unique story. And there are people in the community, voters in the community, who will remember those when we ask. Also part of your story is the fact that, in my view, the district has done extensive strategic work that is very important and part of the foundation to even do a feasibility study. You have clarity around your goals. You see the 4 goals here. You have clarity around instruction. Quality school facilities are directly related to peak performing schools. So that's a piece. The other piece is that there has been extensive work on facilities assessment. And I'm not the expert on that topic. I think there are others here in the room who are, but we need to be able to say that assessment has been done before you can ever go to the ballot. So part of your story is seeing that there has been a lot of detailed assessment school by school in your district. So the real question is a school bond in your future in 2024? That is our task as part of the feasibility study. And in our experience, when you do the work, the answers that you're seeking will emerge. So some strategic reminders as I begin to tell you how we are doing our work. We're practicing that Murrieta Valley is unique, and we've got to pay attention to that uniqueness. We're practicing listening, really listening well. We are practicing people support what they help create. You can't go to the ballot and expect people to be with you if you haven't asked them much earlier on, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think there are needs, et cetera? We are paying attention to finding an intersection of interests between what we're hearing in the facilities assessment and what your unique community of voters tells us they are willing to consider in a potential bond. We're also following the data. We're very data-driven in this work. We don't get into selling. We're following the data. So that's another piece. And then we're using time wisely because time is ticking away. So our approach focuses on finding the sweet spot. You'll see us talking about that all the way through. We also pay attention to what I call the key predictors of who wins and who does not win local school bonds in California today. You could look at most any school district in this environment and see who's winning and who's not winning and what are they doing. And those who are passing the 55% approval rating follow a certain approach. And first of all, they have clarity about their story of need, and they're good at telling their story of need. Secondly, they have a plan. So when voters say, what are you going to do with my money? They have an answer. They have an answer. And then thirdly, they understand who votes. And that is a calculus equation. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And finally, they're using resources prudently. Time, money, people, they're using all of those resources prudently. In addition, in our approach, we will be looking at the work, doing the work along 3 tracks. The first is what I call due diligence. It's the facilities work, the programs, the finance, the legal, all of the things that have to come together in a ballot package by the time it goes to the ballot. And so that's one track that there is a team of people paying attention to. The second track is you, the Board of Education, because you are the 5 people who vote yes or no to put a ballot, a bond measure before the voters and let them vote. So you're the folks that have the final say about whether there is a ballot measure. So we're going to be steadily coming back to you with more and more information so you don't get it all at the end, but you get it as we go. And then lastly, we pay attention to stakeholder and opinion leader engagement. So we're really looking out at your Murrieta Valley community, and we're saying, how can we engage people, listen to people, and use time to really track what they're saying and come back to you with the evidence that we have listened. And we're paying attention to time very specifically. Here is our timeline. Each of those different colored sections of the timeline require different focus for us. We have been in the blue section at the beginning with early beta testing of the listening effort. And I do want to say I was so thrilled to talk to Dr. Andrus again today. And he reminded me about his council on facilities, I'm sorry, I'm missing.
So is our Superintendent's Advisory Council on Schools and Facilities.
Yes, and thank you for that.
Lot of words in there.
A lot of words, but the kind of folks in the room who are there wearing lots of different hats, but weighing in on your facilities, your school program, your needs. So that process is in motion. We have also reached out, conducted a principals orientation for all your principals and asked them to now be in an open, candid, honest way asking people for input on their school site facilities needs. So an outbound message saying, here's what I as principal think are our school facility needs, and what do you think? And really listening to teachers, staff, and parents especially about the needs on an individual school site level. You'll see two purple areas, marks here. Those are possible research points where we actually conduct a voter opinion survey, and that is coming in the process here of getting the answer on feasibility. So we'll be, I'll share a little bit more about that shortly. And then we have a big green bar here, which is about sharing information, continuing to listen, and building a ballot measure package that reflects what we have heard from the community. And then there will be a point at that second blue bar where a package comes to you, the board, and you will need to discuss it and take action. And if the board chooses to place a measure on the ballot, that triggers what we call the election window. That's an 88-day window when the community has a chance to discuss the actual package and vote on it, if the board chooses to place a measure on the ballot. And as in the past cases that I've been involved with, lots of times folks say, well, when we get to the end and we pass the measure, or whatever happens with the measure, we're done. But if the measure passes, you're not done, actually. You have to honor the commitments you made to voters and do what you said you were going to do, because in all likelihood, you'll be back again at some point, and today is evidence of that. You had to go through the process with previous bond measures to do what you said you were going to do. And so that's our planning timeline. The role of the school board is to oversee this process and to observe and monitor and watch and ask questions, and ultimately to take action and vote to place a measure on the ballot and let the people vote or not. You're not saying yes to a bond, you're letting the people vote on such a measure if a measure comes forward to you. So because of that role that you play ultimately to be the decision makers about whether a measure goes on the ballot or not, we think it's very important to be in front of you periodically to share more and more information about what we're learning, what we're hearing from the community, and so forth. And so part of the preparation work is to really understand your voters. And I wanted to share a little bit of the science. This is the data work and the science. Just to let you know that you have about 68,000 voters, and they live in about almost 32,000 households. We expect an extremely high turnout this coming November, November of 2024. Could be as high as 87% turnout. I like to call it the mother of all turnout elections because so many people want to show up and vote for president. But as you all know, there are many other things that will be on the ballot. And so this is the world that we look at when we look at feasibility of a measure. So your world is all students, all families. Our world is voters because they are the decision makers in a potential bond measure. Just to give you a little more data, you have an interesting mix in Murrieta Valley of political party, and that can influence where people land on a potential bond measure. We also see in terms of age that you have a diversity of ages, and we need to remember that not all voters have kids going to your schools.
Bonnie, would you go back one slide?
Sure.
This information is pulled from registered voters or voting history. Where did these numbers
Yes.
derive from?
The original source is the county registrar of voters.
Okay.
And that is public information. So we are data nuts at my firm, and so we get that information and analyze it. And this comes from historic voting patterns in your district and what voters declare when they register to vote. Thank you for making sure we clarified that. And as well, voter age. Voters will complete a statement when they register to vote. And so this is part of the voter file that comes originally from the Registrar of Voters. We do know that I like to say there are two different kinds of voters in the simplest way thinking about it. There's the will vote voters who will vote whether or not you get to them with your message. And then there's the other voters who are busy living their lives, and sometimes they get to the polls, sometimes they don't. Or as in the case that we have now, everyone who is a registered voter gets an absentee ballot. And some of them vote early, some of them vote very, very late. There's a real mix of voter behavior is what we call it. So we're looking at all of that when we look at feasibility. And then, of course, we've sliced and diced the data, and we have some interesting differences between the electorate and your student body in terms of ethnicity. And that's something we need to pay attention to as well. This is all part of the uniqueness of Murrieta Valley. So you're going to hear about how we spend time listening to the community. One of the tools, probably the most scientific, definitely the most scientific of the tools, is what we call a voter opinion poll that is conducted with extremely high predictability and reliability because of the methodology. And the polling partner that we have secured for this project has been our polling partner in the past for Murrieta measures. And so he has a very scientific way of randomly selecting voters who fit the exact profile that we would expect to turn out in November and asking them a series of questions. We will be able to learn from that process where your community of voters stands on a potential bond for 2024. So we're expecting to conduct that later this calendar year and come back to you in January or February with data on that exercise. And that'll tell us a lot about your readiness to place a measure on the ballot and be able to attract the support necessary to pass. So let's shift now to stakeholder and opinion leader engagement. As I've said before, we place a lot of attention on listening. And so we're talking about the history of the district, the facility needs. We have your team, your district team, helping to ensure that we are staying factual throughout the process. And then we're simply allowing for this two-way conversation and asking people, what do you think? We have asked principals to help engage in some of these conversations so that we can say in every school community, we are listening. And we have asked people, what do you think? And we're inviting that input. That is going to be gathered and summarized, and we will also be able to share that with you. Outside of the principal conversations and the advisory council from the superintendent, there are lots of other ways that we practice good listening and share information. It can take lots of different forms, and here are some of them. I do want to say that I'm happy to share with you that direct mail is one of the ways that we engage voters, and we strive to do what we call two-way mailers, where there's a message coming, in this case from the superintendent, with a tear-off response card and an opportunity to weigh in an online survey. And we see lots and lots and lots of community members take advantage of both options. Some like to do a survey online and give you your input online, and others prefer to write it down and mail it back in, and so they send out a response or a tear-off response card. We are also seeing a lot more, using a lot more digital tools to remind voters to weigh in. That's all we're doing. We're saying, take our survey, tell us what you think. What needs do you see out there? What are your questions? What do you need to know? And we're doing that in a way that is very local, very customized to the unique community. In this particular case here, I'm not showing you the videos, but what we are doing now, and here in Murrieta, we're already planning for videos, digital ads that will invite community members to weigh in. Click here and take the survey, whether it's a principal, a student, a teacher, but again, very local, very Murrieta in this case, inviting input. And then you've heard me talk about the opinion leader and stakeholder conversations. So lots of listening, message discipline in that we're being factual, we're being thoughtful. We are always practicing the skill of inviting input and listening to what people have to say, and we're using time wisely. So I'm going to stop here for a moment and just say that our feasibility process is going to hit a major milestone around the December holidays timeframe. So we believe we'll be in a good place to come back to you in the January, February timeframe to share with you, here's what we heard from your community. Here's what we're interpreting and analyzing that data to mean in terms of election feasibility for potential bond. So you can expect more information in that time frame. And in the meantime, there's more study opportunities that can occur. There can be site tours, because I'm told that in the most minimal way, your repair needs are over $150 million. And if you were to look at everything that there is to do, it's pushing $1 billion. And you're not alone. This is true all over the state. And one of the things that we know is that the state of California is no longer funding school facilities improvements. So any public school district that has facility needs is really having to take on the responsibility of finding a way to improve their facilities on their own. So understanding what exactly the greatest needs are is an opportunity for all of you as board members who may be asked at some point to actually take action, vote yes or no to put a measure before voters. I have also found that an extra session, maybe individually or as a group, on the financial elements of bonds is really valuable and important. CSBA, California School Boards Association, provides those kinds of sessions. You've got your financial advisor is one of the best in the business. I think he is the best, Tim Carty. And he would be a very good resource for a finance session. And then ultimately, at some point, if a bond is feasible, part of the package that would go before voters, that's required by law, is what we call the Prop 39 project list. It's an official project list that says to voters, if you pass this measure, these are the projects we're going to focus on. And if there's a project that somebody wants to do after the measure passes that wasn't on the project list, that's a problem. Because the project list is the promise, if you will, to voters on here's what we're going to use the money for if you say yes to a potential measure. So understanding what would make the project list, because you can't do it all. You can't do $1 billion. You probably can't even do the $150 million. Maybe you can. But understanding what are the specific projects that are most needed, either for safety reasons or educational reasons or whatever, that's another opportunity for further study, I would say. So that brings us to Q&A. If there are questions or discussion, no action here. I'm just here to answer any questions you might have or explain further something that maybe I didn't cover.
When did the state stop helping fund this? Because I thought they still did.
Yeah. Well, it's been a sort of gradual thing over time, but occasionally, and we've even heard that maybe in November of 2024, the state may put a bond on the ballot for K-14 school facilities, but that is to allow for matching funds. So they give out pieces of it, but they don't cover everyone's needs. And the matching funds often is attractive to local voters because it's helping to leverage local taxpayer dollars further, if you will. But the state just, especially, I would say, I've been doing this for about 24 years, and just more and more and more over that time, the state has not been able to, or chosen to, fund school facilities improvements. And what we know now is local school districts have to pretty much handle their own facility improvements. So we don't see that changing, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
How accurate has the polling, because you will poll people before the election, how accurate has it been in the past?
The polling that we've done has been highly predictive. I believe the pollster that we are using here in Marietta and that we used in the past has I think his overall career rate is 96%. And in the past election, I believe he had 100% rate of whether if he saw that this was winnable and they went forward and won, he won every one. Our firm's at Clifford Moss is at 95.2 for the kind of measures we're going for. So we're all paying attention to what matters here, but the polling is highly predictive.
And what is the pollster? I'm sorry. What was that pollster's name?
The firm is called True North Research. And the leader of the firm, the president of the firm, is Dr. Tim McLarney, McLarney. He's in Encinitas. But he's worked in Marietta Valley for many, many years.
I have a question about the surveys.
Yes.
I'm not always a fan of surveys because and I know you guys are experts at this, but I think surveys can be really poorly written and written to get certain results and not really written to get good information. And we've seen that happen actually here. I hope I'm not going to offend anybody talking about the calendar year survey that we did years ago. Getting some nods. It came out when I was a parent. I wasn't on the board. And it was a multiple choice, 5 choices. You could choose one of 5 choices. And it said, what is the best calendar for your family in terms of supporting student learning and achievement? Well, I had no idea as a parent how the calendar supported student learning and achievement. So I just sort of marked that part off and said, what's the best calendar for us? And picked 1 out of 5 choices. Well, the public came back and said, what was the most popular choice? What did the public pick? And oftentimes surveys come across as voting. We're telling you what to do. And that's how that went out and how it came back. Well, the top choice got not even quite 30%. So the other 4 choices had to divide up 70%. Right. So if you go, by the majority vote, right, 70% of the people were unhappy and were not heard and were not listened to. So I'm very concerned about surveys, and not that you have to okay them through us, but I would say, please have our staff look through them, have us look through them, get as many viewpoints ahead of time to avoid those kinds of very common pitfalls.
I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you. And I would also say that the research a methodology for a school bond poll is very scientific
Okay.
and very meticulous in the way that it moves the voter through answering a series of questions, including what we call the ballot question, that 75-word long run-on sentence with a question mark at the end that you vote on when you actually are voting. We're asking people if you heard this or saw this statement. And believe it or not, the law is very, very clear about what we can say in those 75 words. So we're asking that question. We're asking questions about the needs that your team has told us are your most significant facilities needs. Like, are you convinced about this kind of need? Technology needs, old plumbing, lighting and electrical that is deteriorating. So we get very specific about the facility needs, aging portables that need to be replaced, all of that.
Okay.
Then we'll ask the question again, the ballot question, and we'll see where they stand again. And then what we call a series of arguments that are pro and con, that reasons to vote yes and reasons to vote no, because the pollster is simulating what actually happens in a campaign environment. And then they'll ask the ballot question again. So it's a different kind of survey than a multiple choice.
Right.
It's little pieces that the voters tell our pollster that come together, and he will interpret that data to tell us, are we in range or are we not? And I will tell you that, again, I've been doing this a long time,
Right.
and there are only about 4 or 5 super qualified pollsters who do this kind of polling, and I believe we have the best here working on the Murrieta project. So I will take that back to him so that he knows there are concerns, and he'll be ready to talk about the methodology, and I think bring you some confidence that there's accuracy in these results.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just, I wanted to see if you could reiterate again. You said in your experience, the state of California has been spending less and less money on infrastructure projects for school districts.
For local school districts. So the state budget has been spending money a lot more on other issues than local school facilities projects.
So you'd say local school facilities referencing just K through 12 generally. And K through 12 education is one of its primary duties, is to take care of our kids and their education. And CTA is, from what I understand, the most powerful lobby in California. Would you think that's accurate or no?
Well, I'll tell you this. My world is local. So I work with the local school districts. And I will say that teachers from those local districts tend to get involved in our projects because they're in the classrooms and they know what's working and what isn't in terms of facilities. But I don't have as much contact with CTA.
The only reason I bring it up is because we have so many union members, myself included. And then our representatives are here on a regular basis. They know the need that we have here locally. They have a voice in Sacramento. They have a very powerful voice in Sacramento. And I just find it a little bit ironic and strange that the funding for K through 12 has been getting diminished over the last 20 years. And we're definitely on the raw end of that, as I think in the crowd we have a number of teachers and aides that are concerned about their pay, and yet the state of California seems unconcerned about the education here locally in Murrieta. So that's a frustration that we're going to run up against as taxpayers. We are the highest tax state in the union, And yet the funds aren't coming down to our children or for our teachers here locally. And that's a huge frustration for me personally.
Yeah. I will say that your teachers here in Marietta were absolutely all in to the other measures that we put before voters. And they made a huge difference in those measures passing. So I'm a big supporter of local teachers associations that do choose to get involved because they are voices that the community often listens to. Other questions?
Question. How does inflation affect the final list? You say we have a list of 20 things. We want to do all 20 things. We tell the voters, this is the list, 20 things. And then inflation does what to that list of 20?
I wish my friend Tim Carty were here to help us walk through that. He is your financial advisor and can speak more effectively to that. But let me try to tackle it from my angle as a communications strategist. We know that inflation is something that people pay attention to, and they're paying attention to it now. We know that definitely happened in 2022. We had a number of clients who wanted to go to the ballot. Some went and others did not. Those who stayed off the ballot missed an opportunity because those who went to the ballot, in terms of our clients, they went and they won. They were able to convince folks to be with them on a local school bond measure. But there have been cases where some indicator, whether it's inflation or foreign sources buying up all the steel or other unpredicted occurrences that impact the follow through and spending once a bond measure is passed, which is why the attention to the assumptions that go into the package are so important, is to assume or to calculate what will this bond measure fund over a 10-year construction period or whatever. That work of doing the financial analysis up front and looking at things like the economy, assessed values, changes in assessed values, changes in inflation. That is part of the process that will happen here if we see that feasibility is present, that your community is open to considering a measure. And if it is, then there will be a process of building a ballot measure package that is very prudent and conservative on building in the calculations so that if there is an unpredicted incident like inflation or one of these other points that I just made, that the bond measure will continue to be solid and the projects will get funded. I have seen examples from others who weren't able to foresee or build in very conservative assumptions that they suddenly had promised something that couldn't be done because they didn't have enough money.
That's a real problem.
It is a problem. But I also would say that in a district like Marietta Valley, with among the best financial advisors in the industry, that every time that we have seen this, the last two times when I was on the journey with you, so to speak, there were very conservative, very prudent assumptions built into your bonds so that you could minimize those kinds of problems.
Could I ask another question about that, taking a little bit further? Paul, I think you used the example of 20 projects. We're going to get these 20 done. And what's the fallout to us if we can only get 18 done?
Well, the most important principle that we all need to follow is transparency.
Okay.
Being very honest with voters before, during, and after a bond measure passes. I've seen districts handle that fallout well, and I've seen districts I was not involved with, but I saw them from afar who weren't handling it well. And here is the difference. The districts who did handle any adjustment that was not what people were planning, those who were open and transparent and honest about what was happening that was imposed on them outside of their control were a lot more successful getting back on track than those who were suddenly hit by that incident and didn't tell anybody, and then it came out later. So I think that once again comes back to listen well, communicate well, be transparent, and be very, very conservative in the assumptions that are built into your bond package.
Okay.
Along those lines, just to help, that's why there's also an oversight committee.
Right.
And so the oversight committee is updated. How often do you meet, Darren? With our
Quarterly.
Every quarter. And so our bond oversight committee, which are made up of parents and citizens, residents, they're the ones who get updates on all of that. That's part of that transparency process. So it's
Okay.
very clear and obvious all along the way. And as we face opposition or inflationary headwinds, as the Fed likes to call them, we're able to talk to people about this is what we're seeing in terms of what the bid processes are looking like on projects. So,
Okay.
and those are all that information is available on our website as well. So it's part of the transparency piece.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Andrus, for that. The Oversight Committee is a very important requirement of Prop 39 bonds. So they are part of the tool to stay transparent. But I think there's lots of other ways to be very open. As you say, you put it all on your website. So a lot of open honesty there.
Yeah, I have a question. So I just got my tax bill a few days ago and took a look at it. And so I know everyone's is different, but I have a sizable and, line item for Marietta. And it doesn't really say on there where that came from. But I'm just wondering, do you have kind of a baseline picture of across Marietta what people are paying right now for school tax or school taxes?
Yeah. I'm going to say I do not, because I'm the communications member of the team, but our finance folks would have that or could get that for you. So we can get that for you.
Do you know by any chance?
BB is $25 per assessed $100,000 assessed value. James, do you have, off the top of your head, Measure K? On you?
We should
25 is
we should get that
Yeah.
and be able to
Okay.
provide that back to you so that it will make sense on whatever you're seeing on your tax bill. And you are correct that everybody's going to have a different amount.
So is Measure BB, I know we're almost out of money on that. So when is that going to go off people's tax bill?
It's a 30-year bond, right?
Okay. So that's coming later is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me speak to that real quick, because you're not that you're anything wrong, James. You're sitting off but you're not being recorded. So each one of these bonds over the various years, they all have a 30-year window, and some have come off. Some of our original ones are obviously paid off and done, and the older ones are nearing the end of their time. And of course, Measure BB, our most recent one, has a lot of time left with us. And so each one, it's best to kind of lay out each one in order, because some of them are going to expire. And some will still be with us for a period of time. And so, as was suggested in your presentation, Bonnie, and as James was alluding to, it may be best to bring that back to the board in an informational session, either collectively here or in small groups, but provide everyone with that information. And that was part of our process to make sure that our trustees were well aware of what our current and our community's current financial obligations are and how that may play out in the future. Because again, like I said, some of the items, some of the bonds are close to dropping off and being completed. And so that's part of the, is this feasible or not question.
Could part of that information include, for example, Measure E, we said we were going to do these things and we accomplished these things?
Oh, based on projects completed. I think that would be part of what would be found in our oversight committee information. So I
Okay.
think we could probably include
For
what was
each of the
done,
ones.
like what
Yeah,
Measure E.
I can share you, especially for BB, the laundry list of items that, and again, BB was pretty specific as it relates to technology infrastructure. But in addition to that, there were other items and other items that are planned and sometimes not so planned. You know, like for example, on a cadence of HVAC replacement. Those things include that as well as technology, short-term investments, long-term investments. And so I can give you that so you can see what the Citizens Oversight Committee kind of uses as that playbook to when we're updating them with, here's a project that's coming out of BB to make sure it fits squarely in what the voters asked for.
Just to clarify, but you're also interested in prior bonds as well.
I think so. I think it would be a good comparison.
See the history?
Just a history.
And the value of that is voters will ask.
They will.
They will ask, what did you do last time? And so I think that is a really great thing, and you have that information. So that's a great one. So is the financial piece, because voters, sometimes they understand how bonds work and sometimes they don't. So having the board get more information is useful in the process.
I just add one more concern. Just these are kind of unprecedented economic times and uncertainty, and inflation is going to erode purchasing power almost for sure. So whatever we're promising, I'm just going to be very interested to hear. I think what Linda was alluding to as well is just how much can we realistically expect to get out of this money over time, considering there's so many question marks as to what's going to happen with the economy. And of course, everyone else's purchasing power and their pocketbooks will probably determine how they feel about a bond getting added. So I think the finances are probably the most important element to our discussion for sure.
That's a good question. And what's really interesting over time that I've observed is your needs are real. They're not going away. As things get older, they will deteriorate more. So that's one track of knowledge. The other piece is as time goes by and inflation comes and costs go up, they're not going back. So you have needs not going away and time marching on and things getting more expensive as time goes by. So one of the things that often comes up in this conversation with the community is the longer we wait to make these needed repairs and upgrades, the more expensive it will be. And if we don't have some source to turn to, another source of funding, which most school districts today do not, then we have to make decisions about what is affordable and what are the most important and urgent facility needs that we have, be they safety related or other. And that's where that Prop 39 project list comes in. So not promising the world, packaging your measure so that it fits that sweet spot between what you know you need and what voters tell you they say is affordable for them to keep the number one performing school system in the region, I'm told. So I think a lot of people have moved here because of your great schools. And so now how do you ensure that they keep performing in the high quality level that they have? So the finance piece is part of this. What do people think is affordable is part of this. The value that schools have in the community is part of this. And that's why the ongoing conversation is so important and listening is so important. And, not letting up on the listening part.
So one last clarification, the bond we're looking at is strictly for facilities needs? Is that what we're looking at?
A bond can only be spent on capital needs.
Invest, okay.
So a bond cannot be spent on operating costs, salaries, and programs and so forth. It can only be spent on capital needs, bricks and mortar, technology infrastructure, those kinds of things.
Thank you.
Great question.
Any other questions?
Just as a point of clarification for both the trustees and the members of the audience, the regular board meeting starts at 5:30. So a lot of you were early, so thanks for coming early, because we didn't know how long this session would take. So trustees, don't feel like you have to be rushed at this point in time. This is a chance, if you have any other further questions, it's a good chance to bring them out.
Can we contact you at any time, or is,
Absolutely. I
Okay.
will make sure I'll give you my contact information.
and
Absolutely.
that's, okay, yeah.
Here
Yeah.
to serve.
Absolutely. It's a great chance. Bonnie and her team is working with us to develop, as we talked about, the informational piece will go out, the survey. We don't know what we don't know. We have our own impressions of what we think our needs are, and our parents and our community members have their own thoughts about that. And much of that overlaps and is the same thing, but there's things that we may think are important that others may feel are not as important, and the community may say, well, this is a really high importance to us in this area. Kind of in general terms, we recognize that we have needs in our school district. As Bonnie mentioned, we built schools very quickly to accommodate the growth, kind of settled into a bit of a pattern. We expanded a few more schools as we needed to. And then if you look around our campuses, almost every single campus, if not all of them, and one of our campuses is entirely portables. Those are temporary, like a paper plate, right? Or a tent. It's not a building, it's a tent. It's not really a tent. We don't have any kids in tents. Please don't misunderstand. There are no students in tents. Every student is housed according to the Field Act, okay? But in comparison, we have temporary buildings that were once set up on a school site to house students while we were building a different school. So for example, a prime example I think of all the time is Chavela Middle School. It was the first one, we had that built, there were portables there, and the portables as you approach that school and enter, those portables there, that was Murrieta Valley High School for a moment. And now it's part of Chavela Middle School. And so we as a community have to decide, like, are we okay continuing to house students at all of our school sites in temporary housing? Or we want to do something else about that? With there are opportunities to improve security with electronic key locks as opposed to a hard lever key. We could use the electronic ones, which can be secured at the touch of a button. That's a technological advancement that our schools never were built for. That wasn't a thing in the 80s and 90s or 2000s. There's other opportunities we may look at where I don't want to say we did as much as we could do when we could do it. So our campuses have, our high schools specifically have smaller multi-purpose rooms, except Murrieta Valley High School does not. So when it rains, we're running for cover because that school was not built with a student cafeteria. In talking to various parents and students, and even you as trustees, there's been conversation about we'd like to teach construction or welding shop. We don't have facilities for those. Those are unique facilities that you just can't convert or renovate a classroom for. So the survey that we're working towards will help and inform us, like where are the priorities at, and then how much of that. That's the other part. We'll be working with construction partners to understand costs and potential costs, as was alluded to, the number of projects and what these things may cost in the future. And that'll give us a strong indication of, again, the feasibility of what we can and can't do. And then from there, we create, if we decide to proceed, we'll narrow that list down. I do okay? Okay, just checking. Questions, other questions?
Yeah, I would just like to point out, on the agenda for this meeting tonight, there's a very extensive document that I would encourage everyone to look at. A lot of work has been done, pictures, photographs taken. It's all arranged by campus. And so, anyway, just what the needs are, they're ranked according to, how serious the need is. And so I just think as a community, I just think it's very important for anyone, even just making your own personal voting decision to, it'd be kind of a long study, but just to take a look at that, the information's all there. So I would highly recommend that. I mean, I've only sort of glanced at it so far, but there's a ton of information there. So anyway, that's my suggestion.
All right, thank you. Any else? No. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you for the privilege
Good
of speaking
information.
with you all. We'll
Thanks.
be in touch.
Okay, I call for a motion and a second to adjourn the Board of Education meeting at 5:03 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Have your attention, please. Yo!
Quiet, please.
Thank you. Feel like I'm back in the Navy. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I, Paul Diffley, hereby call the Board of Education regular meeting to order at 5:34 p.m. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the public. I'd like to welcome the community members in attendance this evening. As a reminder, governing board meetings are a business meeting of the board, held in public, and although public participation is encouraged, it is not the public's meeting. It's the duty of the board president and/or clerk of the board to maintain an orderly, respectful, and peaceful meeting where all perspectives, voices, and opinions are welcome. Please refrain from speaking out while another person has the floor. That's rude. At the appropriate time on the agenda, individuals wishing to provide public comment will be called upon one at a time to do so in accordance with board bylaw 9323. The board cannot and will not respond to non-agendized items, but a staff member will reach out to you on matters that need to be reviewed as appropriate. A2, establishment of quorum. We have a quorum present with all board members in attendance. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Avery Redmond from Murrieta Canyon Academy. Item A4, approval of the agenda. Call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none. Student preferential vote in favor, opposed?
She's not here tonight.
Oh, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. B, communications. B1, representative reports. This is really neat. Always look forward to this. First will be Haven Anozi, Murrieta Mesa High School student rep. Welcome. Welcome.
Hello, hello. How are you all doing today?
Good.
Great. Hi, community. All right, so the last time that I left you all, we were getting ready for the highly anticipated homecoming, so that's where we're going to be starting from today. So kicking it off, our homecoming reveal was absolutely insane. I saw you, Mr. Ward. We had a skydiver, yes, a skydiver, come in on the field and announce our king and queen. After that night, after the game, we had fireworks and it was incredible. Now, I'm actually gonna give a quick crash course so everybody listen up, parents, so that you can understand your kids. So our slang, I know you guys are like, what in the world are you guys saying? So there's this term that we use called eats, not like eating food, but it means like to excel, to go above and beyond, to like overachieve. So like, for example, MVUSD, eats. We go over and beyond and we overachieve. Our dance team eats every time. That's what this homecoming rally is right there. Do you see that pose? Okay, they ate. We also had a Safe Week after that. It was extremely fun. At Mesa, we like to help people feel supported and within the community feel like they belong. So we had mental health awareness, toxic relationship education, things of that nature. Also, we have the play that's going wrong, apparently, put on by our drama program. If you're not doing anything, October 25th through October 28th, please come and check it out. And then we also are getting ready for Share the Harvest. Within the Mesa community, we are extremely competitive, like class competitions, Rampage, seniors won homecoming week. Let's talk about that. And we're gonna be collecting canned goods, turkeys, pies for Thanksgiving. And then our culinary team and our our nutrition services ladies cook that up, make meals for people, and the community can come out and get a plate. And then we also have clubs doing games and face painting. It's really, really fun. A little birdie told me that some district members come and carve turkeys, so we hope to see you guys there. And then moving on, we have athletics. Let's see if this video play. Oh, it does. Awesome. So fall sports are getting ready to come to a close. Yesterday we had our cross country pride game, which is what Beast puts on. Basically, it's like a spirited game, and it's really fun. A lot of crowd, a lot of energy. And then football demolished TV last week, 52-17. The crowd. Oh.
Would that be an appropriate word, eats?
Give it up for this man. Give it up for this man.
Clarify.
Mr. Ward, active learning. I'm so proud of you. And then our winter sports are getting ready. Basketball, wrestling. It's going to be a fun season this year. Now, we have academics. We had the Avid field trip a couple of weeks ago. They went to UCR and CBU. I heard amazing things. I heard stuff about the CBU buffet. Personally, I wish that I would have gone, yes, because of college, yes, but also because of that buffet, because who doesn't love a good buffet? Hello? Right. Also, we had the PSAT yesterday, actually, and then we're having it again next Wednesday, getting our juniors ready for their collegiate journey. And then we have the academic rally coming up next Friday, for anybody that maintained a 3.5 GPA or higher last semester. Mesa culture, it's officially October, hoodie season, sweater weather, pumpkin spice things are back at Starbucks, yes. Me personally, I might have to get a pumpkin spice frappuccino, no coffee, extra caramel after this. Anyway, Breast Cancer Awareness Month is also this month, and having survivors in my family, I know how important it is to support those fighting, celebrate those who survived, and honor those that we've lost. And Mesa does an incredible job of that. Our B section puts on our night rally, which is this top picture with the ram that says pink out. It's a lot of high energy, fall sports, demolish, yeah. They do games and have fun. And then after that, we have the pink out rally. And I saw an Instagram caption that was like, nothing goes better together than football and pink. And I'm honestly going to have to agree because that student section is literally insane. And then we also have our principal advisory. There's no pictures, unfortunately, but Mr. Richards asked for kids in different clubs and sports to come and give their input about what we're doing right at Mesa, what we can improve on. And then from there, he takes what he gains to admin, and they just collectively find a solution using student insight and teacher insight to create innovation at Mesa. And then we also had our panorama survey, all the schools did. And then Club Rush is next week. A lot of clubs have been founded this year, and I'm honestly like so 100%, no, not 100%, let's get 99.7% sure that literally everyone can find something at Mesa, which is absolutely incredible. And then finally, we have our senior trip coming up next week to Fright Fest. The seniors are beyond excited, and it's going to be a great time. So, conclusively, we are Mesa. Go Rams. Thank you for your time. All right.
I would give that a 4 eek. Avery Redmond, Marietta Canyon Academy. Welcome.
Hello again, board members and community. I'm excited to be back. So, as always, our campus and our staff have been great keeping up with their reputation of supporting us. So we've started our support groups run by the counseling team and the mental health team. And then also with breast cancer awareness, every Friday of the month of October, we have a pink out. So this picture right here is of our leadership class. And academics. Environmental science classes went on a field trip to the park across from our school, and we went on a scavenger hunt on the trail and had a lot of fun. We went back to our classes afterwards and had a class discussion on the things that we saw and what we learned. And then also students who scored proficient or advanced on last year's state testing were recognized with awards and a root beer float at lunch to celebrate. And then as usual, the art class is doing great things. For Hispanic Heritage Month, we had a lot of cool activities at lunch, and then I saw a lot of people were really excited to participate. There was a lot of people who were excited to go out, and then we had games and fun things to do. Our hiking club, super exciting. They hiked a whole 5 miles at the Santa Rosa Plateau. And I heard from the teachers and staff, they saw a lot of cool wildlife. And so unfortunately, I missed it, but the whole campus was excited, I think. And then recently we've added a skating club. And so personally, I think it's really cool. The bottom right picture is of one of our leadership students explaining and demonstrating how to do some very cool tricks. And then something that I'm really passionate about is our mental health support on campus. We had our Suicide Prevention Month event. We had some guest speakers come and do a presentation. And then we also had our BC2M Bring Change to Mind Club do an event at lunch and hand out resources and do cool things to interact with the campus. And then also for Suicide Prevention Month, we did a chalk walk with supportive messages all over the campus. It was really nice walking out and seeing colorful drawings and supportive messages all over the sidewalk. And then we also continue to support our staff, and the leadership classes made posters to recognize our campus security and custodian. And then our culture, campus culture, on a regular basis, we have guest speakers coming in, or I've seen the Navy recruiters, the Marine recruiters just came, and we've had presentations from community colleges, we've had presentations from colleges out of state, lots of resources given to our students. And then something that I'm super happy to say is that over a third of our students achieved a 3.0 or higher GPA for the first progress report. That's just in the first 6 weeks. And then also something I'm really excited to say is a whole fifth of the students that started the year in credit recovery have already finished, and they're back on track for graduation. Thank you.
Avery, just want to recognize you. She was named Emerita Canyon Academy Student of the Month this month.
Aw.
Alana Elliott, Vista Marietta High School. Welcome.
Hello, board, and hello, community. I'm glad to be back. So at Vista, we had a lot going on within this last couple months, and we have a lot more this next month. So to start us off, we'll go with academics. So we had our bronchatorial last weekend, and we had 150 students in attendance. We also had our counselors complete transcripts with all grade levels going over like what they want to look forward to in the next year. And then for seniors, we obviously talked about graduation requirements, and how college is going to look like. And then the 6-week grading period did end. And then we're also having college and career presentations available for students every week. And those are like colleges coming onto campus to talk to students within our school to see if they're interested. Like last week, in the beginning of this week, we had UCSB and we had Boise and all those great schools to like encourage students and see what they have to look forward to going to college. And then we also have our upcoming 9th and 10th grade parent night. And then we also just had our 11th and 12th grade parent night, which was a major success. We also had 150 students in attendance. And now that seniors are gearing up to apply for college, we are allowing for college application support through counselors and through our college and career center. So just students who may not know how to apply for college very well, they're able to go there and receive the support to be able to apply to those colleges. Now, for Broncos who have class, we know we have lots of it. So our student senate is gearing up to make our way to our feeder elementary school and middle schools. So we are going to one on Monday, and it's for the Red Ribbon Rally to just support them and be like, don't do drugs. But we say it not in a drug way because They're elementary. Hopefully they're not doing that stuff yet. Well, we know they're not doing that stuff yet. Also, this past weekend, we had our Golden Alliance go to Northern Arizona University, and this is a national competition. So this was a big deal for our Broncos. They ended up placing second and are now ranked 9th in the nation. This is 9th in the nation, everyone. Yes, so we have the two bottom pictures. Those are our color guard and our band, and they did absolutely stunning because how can you be 9th in the nation? Like, that's awesome. And then also we had our Unified sports teams go to Mesa, and they placed second playing basketball. They were shooting some hoops, breaking some ankles. They were out there dominating. I wish I had those skills. Basketball be breaking my ankles instead. Awesome. So for activities, I know we talked about our homecoming. Our homecoming was a hit. Well, first we had our football game, and this was awesome. This year we did something a little different with our halftime show. Instead of doing like a normal like presentation of like dance and all that, we kind of encouraged like a show to be put on. And it was like a demonstration of the Rapunzel movie, and each different group put on a different scene. So like our dance crew, they did a scene from like the pub of when they were there, and they did I Had a Dream. And then we had Ballet Folklorico do the scene from the castle, and it was honestly so beautiful. And then we had our big tower we had. I know I talked about this at our superintendent meeting, but it turned out awesome. I forgot to include a photo of it, which I'm very sad about, but it was awesome. So in total, though, we had 36 different groups help with either our halftime show or performance and rally. That is phenomenal. We had everyone in every different corner helping us out. And our Broncos also won 30-13, so taking those dubs left and right. Now, for our homecoming dance, we had over 2,500 students in attendance. I don't know if you realize that is a lot of people on our dance floor. And we also had so many different carnival games and rides and food. We actually had, you guys know those big slides that you can like go on a thing? So fun. I raced all my friends. Obviously, I won. And and then we also had our photo club help do a photo booth, and we had culinary help provide food, and we had our audio tech put on that phenomenal stage. And look at that lighting. We had like a smoke machine, and we had like an H2O gun. We had those lights. Like, it doesn't get better than that. Now, we're also focusing on a lot of culture nights this past month and coming up month. So we actually had our Filipino culture night last night, which I heard was awesome. They had so much fun. There was lots of music, food, and everything. And we also had our Hispanic Heritage Night. And we had a Quince fashion show. We had Ballet Folklorico dancing. It was just a phenomenal job to highlight all of our different cultures we have here at Vista. Now, for athletics. It's a lot. We're just so good. It's so hard to condense it all. I'm sorry. Don't know what else to say. Now, for our football team, their record is 6-1 with 2 wins, with 2 great wins against our league opponents, Norco and Chaparral, and they're continuing to look for success in their last 3 games against Centennial, Roosevelt, and Marietta Valley. Our boys are at Centen right now, so looking up for them. They better make me a proud mom. And then we have our rival game against MV going down. And now our girls tennis have been performing well in league and currently with a score of 5-2. And they also have a match tonight at MV, so hope those ladies win as well. And now for our cross country team, I don't know if you know, but Vista has some of the best cross country out there. Our teams went to Portland, Oregon, which is a big conference at the Nike
Invitational.
Thank you. Obviously too much of a mouthful for me. But our ladies did end up ranking 7th in the nation, in the state. I'm sorry. Getting confused right now. But they got 7th in the state, and our boys cross country also placed 1st at their Carlsbad meet. So they're kicking some booty. I wish I could run like that. Now, for our girls golf, they played against Marietta Valley last Thursday, and they managed to shoot their lowest score in 9 years with 200. Currently, the team is ranked 22nd in league, and their final home match is scheduled on Thursday, October 12th against Chaparral High School. So, and then now for girls volleyball. Our girls have been on an impressive league score with 7-1, and the overall team score was 17-10. Katura is the one excelling in assist, and Lily Montez is leading with the blocks. Their accomplishment reflects their team dedication, and their senior night is tonight. So wishing them luck as well. And then for our boys water polo, last week our team won against Mesa 19-14. Sorry about that, Haven. And they also won a tournament, beating Culver City 14-7, and are up 15-9. Though we lost to Chaparral, our team displayed a condemnable amount of effort. So our sports are doing awesome. I'm glad to see all of them excelling, and I can't wait for the playoffs for them as well. And also, our winter sports are now gearing up, so basketball season, it's going to be awesome. We are very excited. Now, for class on ranch, we have our annual teacher trunk or treat, which is just around the corner. So in case you don't know, is we have like students and teachers park their cars back up, and then we pass out candy to all the teachers and staff's little children. And it's always so much fun. They're always running around in their little costumes, and it's so adorable to see like our community come together. And then we also have a friendly salsa competition. This is personally my favorite. I am a big salsa girl. So all the teachers make their salsa, and then they'll bring it in and they'll judge it, and then we do who had the spiciest and who is the best overall. And that's just a fun way, like a little competition for our teachers to be involved in. And then also, unfortunately, we had a student who passed away to leukemia named Sadie Winbrigg, but we had a tribute game to her last week, and since she lost her battle to leukemia, they all wore orange and pink, which was a very inspirational thing and touching to see our community come together for her and for our girls volleyball. It was very nice to see that no matter once you're a Bronco, always a Bronco, and that Sadie will forever be in our heart, and that she is still so much loved on our campus. And then finally, we have one big culture night, which is happening October 27th, where we're highlighting every single culture that we have at Vista. And it's a very exciting thing because we'll have so many different types of food, games, dancing, music. And we actually invite all of you guys here on the board and within you guys in the community to come out and see what a Vista event is like. And especially our culture nights. Our culture nights go big or go home. And we aren't going home, to tell you that. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Megan Lewis, Marietta Valley High School. Welcome.
Hi, board. Hi, community. I'm so excited to show what has been happening last month at MV. So the mission at MV is to inspire academic excellence while creating a caring and respectful community and to foster integrity and character in all students. The vision is to service and commit to every student every day without predictions. Academics, as you know, well, probably not know, 4 weeks ago, the 6-week grading period ended. With that, we know every grade level's average GPA. So freshmen ended with a 3.09, sophomores ended with a 2.98, juniors with a 3.4, and seniors with a 3.39. Other exciting things that have been happening is our seniors are finishing their one-on-one academic meetings with their counselors to talk about their further education, whether it's going to college, trade school, or going straight into the workforce. Senior Parent Night is coming up this next Monday to give the senior parents resources to help guide their child with their finishing years of high school. One really exciting thing that our seniors have the opportunity to have is on-the-spot admission decisions at CSU, at San Marcos on this Saturday, and that's only if they had their applications turned in on October 9th. Our students got to go to the Latino College Expo and the Army Career Field Trip, and they really enjoyed those events. This past month has been filled with lots of activities on our campus. To start off, our seniors got to paint their senior parking spots, and we loved seeing all their creative ideas coming out onto their spots. Next, we had our homecoming rally. Our theme was Hunger Games, and every year our teachers put on a staff dance, and it's really fun to watch. Our students get hyped, and they always do an amazing job showing us what the different things were. So, for example, this year they did different districts. They did an amazing job representing, and all of our students loved it. This following video, one of our leadership programs is showing what Homecoming Spirit Week looked like for us.
Oh, snap! Oh, snap! Oh, snap! Oh, snap! Oh, snap! Are you ready for this? Oh, snap!
As you can see, social media has heavily increased our participation on campus, well, whether it's dressing up for events, going to games, or just showing school spirit. Following that, we had our homecoming game against Roosevelt. We took a win. It's like taking candy from a kid, what can I say? The score was 56-27. Following that, we had our homecoming dance. We had about 1,800 students attend, and there was not a dull face in the room. Well, not room, but like in the quad. Everyone was smiling. It was a great time. Last Friday, we had our NEST program, the NEST program participated in the basketball game for Special Olympics that Mesa hosted. Thanks, Avon. Following that, our ROTC Raider team, girls took second place out of the 13 other teams competing that was hosted at MV. Athletics this past month have been amazing. To start it all off, girls volleyball is rated number 5 in the county and is pushing to go to playoff. Wait, hold on. Words are not my thing. They're pushing and looking forward to making it in the playoffs as well as playing in one of the toughest leagues in Southern California. Mm-hmm. Following that, football is rated number 3 in the county and is varying to get, hold on, let's find words. Is vying for an open division playoff spot. This is considered the best division in the nation. With that, they are also competing in the toughest leagues in Southern California. Following that, girls cross country is doing amazing. Like, they never fail to amaze me. They are top 15 in the state and currently number 2 in Division II. They're looking to take a Division II title in these next coming weeks. Saving best for last, our water polo team. Sorry, Ilana, I know you think Vista's good, but they've been undefeated and they're looking for their 24th consecutive league championship in this next week. The climate and culture at MV this past month has been amazing. We had our first annual Hispanic Heritage Festival, and it was a huge success. The games, dancing, singing, and bands was a huge hit. We are looking forward to celebrating more of our students' cultures on campus moving forward, as next month is Native American and Filipino. We're looking forward to have something else that happens on campus. We had our first blood drive with 78 successful donations. That's about 200 lives. We also took the fall student survey this past Tuesday that the district sent out in our first period classes. Thank you.
Now you can see why people want to come to Marietta. The excitement that you bring to this meeting is just eek.
Eats. That's a new one.
That's a new one.
It's a new one.
That's a new one. New one. We could have said cool, but that's a way long time ago. Do board members have any comments for the student reps?
Great job.
I'm just so impressed with the leadership and your speaking skills. You're so poised. It was just awesome. You guys did a great job.
Yep.
As I've had a chance to work with some of these leaders in different settings and to see them in action at school and then together when they counsel with me, I also know they communicate often. And even with Izzy, who's not here tonight, they're in regular communication with each other. And it's great to see how they, in essence, work together, learn from each other in their own space, in their own places, but she'll do a great job making that school as best as it can be from your perspective, which we're here to serve you. So we're glad to be part of that. Thank you.
I'm so glad to hear all the positive things going on. It just, warms my heart. And, I do have to say, Alana, my intel is that it's the band, Vista Band is 7th in the nation. I don't know, maybe I got it wrong, maybe I'm, selective hearing, but that's what I heard. So we should check it out, but let's go with 7th for now. Okay.
Great job. Thank you for sharing all these wonderful events with us.
Great. Let's see. At this time, I'd like to thank you all, and if you have to leave now to go do homework or prepare next month's presentations, we appreciate you.
Bye, guys.
B2, public comments. Let's see, I have me to read here. If I don't read this, they cut off my allowance. At this time, the governing board welcomes public comments. Individuals wishing to address the board are requested to complete a request to address the Board of Education card located at the entrance to the boardroom and submit it to the executive assistant to the superintendent and board. In accordance with Board Bylaw 9323, individual speakers shall be allowed. In this case, we have so many on one topic, we're going to limit the time to 2 minutes per person. I apologize if we don't, it'll be way too late. And that's on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board, let's see. The board shall take no action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda except as authorized by law. Superintendent. Oh, no, let's see. Yeah. Let's go.
President Diffley?
Yes,
So can we have a discussion about the speaking time?
Yes.
So how many speaker cards do we have?
There are 17 on one topic, which would be the equivalent of about 50 minutes. And by board policy, the board bylaw is it's 20 minutes per topic. So by shortening it down to 2 minutes per speaker, that would still be 34 minutes, which is beyond. And so it's common for us to reduce the time.
Well, I know in the past we have allowed people their time. So how many different topics are there?
There's a variety of other topic comment cards. There's an additional 10 or 15, and these would be normally given 3 minutes per. And so it's, that's a certain amount of time for each one of those individual topics. But in this topic alone, there are 17 cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so this would be over almost an hour.
So there are 3 public comment periods in this meeting, correct?
There's also one for item D3.
So we have the general public comment. But how many do we have for that one? How many cards do we have for the general?
17.
Okay, 17 for general.
Well, no,
Oh,
17 on one item.
okay, but we have 3 public, we have the general public comment, and then we also have D3 and D4,
Correct.
right?
So there are 17 for D1. There, and I can count them. 1, 2, 3.
No, that's okay. I
Oh.
believe you. I'm just trying to figure out, can we differentiate between, so you're suggesting, and I don't know who made this decision exactly, but so do all, some of them have 3 minutes and, some of them have 2?
So the board might consider, and what Mr. Diffley's suggesting is that this topic get 2 minutes per speaker,
Right.
and then the other ones could have a 3.
Yeah, well, sometimes we're very generous and we discuss and we let people have their time. So can we have that discussion today?
It's up to you.
And people came prepared to,
Any comments on that from the board?
Since there are 17 people on one topic, I'm okay with it being 2 minutes.
Just out of curiosity, so the board policy is
The board bylaw is 20 minutes per topic.
per topic, so we are exceeding that.
We're already exceeding it with 2
to
minutes.
2
well, we
minutes.
have definitely changed that before in at other meetings.
We've,
We could.
and then would that apply to the other topics as well, that 2 minutes each? Or was that not mentioned?
I think Mr. Diffley was referring to 2 minutes for everyone, I think is what he was intending, but he might have been 2 minutes on just this topic.
So we get clarification on that?
We do. Let me ask Mrs. Lund your thoughts.
Total, I'm on total comments, so are about 31, 32
Yeah, there's probably about 30 altogether.
for the whole night, no matter what we're
Ish,
talking about. Okay,
Which is what, 90 minutes?
that's 90 minutes.
What's your-
I'm in favor of going with 2 minutes for the top, for the D1. I could see going 3 minutes with the other one. Asking the audience, please, as much as possible, condense. And if you feel like someone has already spoken your view, maybe you don't do public comment. If you think someone else has already said it best.
D1, it's an informational item on the proposed board policy administrative regulation absences, 113. There's a recommendation to adjust the policy to change that so that we would no longer have the confidential medical appointments be excused absences. We have no history of ever having a student request one, and the statute in the law, the word is may excuse, not shall excused. And so the recommended language there is to create it so that we would not excuse students for a medical appointment or any absence.
Without their parents' consent.
Without parents' consent.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
and the
that's-
community has been trying to get this on the agenda since January. So I just feel like we should let them have their time to talk about that.
I actually concur with that. I think 3 minutes would be appropriate.
Okay, 3 minutes it is. Here we go. Pam Barrett, followed by Myra Rodriguez.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I yield my 3 minutes to Myra Rodriguez.
And I happen to be third speaker, and I'll yield my time as well for expediency.
So
I am Myra Rodriguez.
Oh, good. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here tonight and for hearing my testimony. The testimony you're about to hear is very different from what you had heard before. My name is Myra Rodriguez. I am a former Planned Parenthood director and also known as a whistleblower in the state of Arizona. My former employer fired me after blowing the whistle and calling malpractices on abortion on minors being impregnated by adults. Now, my stand here today is, for many, many years, I encouraged teenagers to go and see me without their parents. But today, I'm speaking as a former Planned Parenthood director to tell you that I had once a mother come into the lobby of my clinic to tell me, my daughter has died in your hands, because her daughter started on a progesterone pill that was bad for her, not knowing her medical history, not knowing her family history. Another girl had a hysterectomy where we require parental consent at the hospital level to save her life when she has taken out of school for an abortion and the abortion went wrong. I have many testimonies like that I would like to go over, and I could go over for hours and hours to tell you what I witnessed as a Planned Parenthood employee. Now, I had a legal battle and I won a wrongful termination lawsuit against Planned Parenthood in the state of Arizona for falsifying a patient chart, not reporting minors that had been impregnated by adults, a statutory rape that should have been informed to the authorities that was happening. I had many, many women that develop illnesses for starting on birth control, not knowing their medical histories or their family medical history, like breast cancer, ovarian cancer. These are very things not to take in lightly, especially when we're talking about puberty blockers, hormonalization on children, or any other services that will require knowledge. And at the end of the day, who's there to take care of those children? Their parents. They're the only ones there to take care of these children when the child came with cancer, when the child needed a hysterectomy, when the child came depressed from the birth control because she didn't know on her medical history or her family history of psychosis. Things like that matter in the medical history of the child. I'm not here to put a moral value or my personal view as a religious person. I'm here to tell you my experience as a former Planned Parenthood director of not one center, but 3 in the state of Arizona. I directed 3 centers, North Phoenix, Flagstaff, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. And I can tell you that I witnessed many of these things. I witnessed girls calling by themselves, 14 years of age, crying in the room because they were bleeding out and no one there to care for them after having an abortion pill done without parental consent. And these are topics that are not lightly taken. When a child leaves the school, and there's a testimony from a mother from the county of San Diego, her daughter was taken out of school at the age of 13 to have an abortion done. The abortion went wrong, and it was the mother's signature required at the hospital to give her a blood transfusion. Now, when we require signatures from parents to save their kid's life, how is it that we don't require a parental consent to allow our children to have any medical services hiding against our will or even against their own health? These are things that should matter, really important. Not only my job now as a activists going around. It's not only the only school district I have gone to speak. I've gone to speak in many other places, many other Congress, even in the Colombia Congress, in the country Colombia, Mexico Congress, speaking about why it's needed for parents. I agree there has to be an involvement with parents and their education and their sexual activities and the ways parents have to raise them. But this is a parent's right to do that at home. They have to do that and they have to be aware. I don't think there's this place for the schools to allow this to be hidden from parents. As a former healthcare worker, I'm going to ask you, please consider that policy of allowing parents, their children, not to be taken out of the school without their permission, because it not only affects the parents at the end, it affects the child. When the child becomes ill, when the child has been in danger, when we know that trafficking, especially in the state of California, the #1 state in the world with most human and child trafficking, we have to be concerned about why is a child from a 7th grade going to have an abortion without her parents knowing. I can tell you that I witnessed many children that had been raped by a family member, and that may be the excuse to some people to put policies like this to hide from their parents, right? But the reason is, usually it's not their immediate father. Usually the mother is there to help her, right? Because when it was somebody else, maybe a school member, right? That has happened. Or maybe someone else in their community. I have seen girls taken to the abortion facility with their abusers to take the pill, and because there's no parental consent needed, no one heard about it. And they continue to abuse that child over and over again. We know that as a former abortion worker, I have seen that abortion and having a child just put on birth control without their parents knowing what's going on in their lives only affects them in the long term. But also talking about the mental health of the child. What message does it bring to the child that we're telling them you are allowed to hide this from your parents? The next time they will have the bulimia, their anorexia, or anything else that will put their life in danger. So as a former Planned Parenthood director, that, like I said, I not only run 1 center, but 3 centers. I worked 17 years for Planned Parenthood in the state of Arizona. I mean, my record is public for my wrongful termination lawsuit as a whistleblower in that state, so anyone can go and look it up. Everything that I have said in my testimony today, it's on a public record in Maricopa County. I welcome anyone to look at the story of more than 650 abortion workers that have left the industry that tell you that a child should not be hiding this from their parents, that a child should not leave the school without any permission from their parents for any medical service. And I will respect your 2 minutes per person. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's see, Jack Marston, followed by, let's see, what's that? Ellen Berlew.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi, welcome. Hello, my name is Jack Marston. I've lived in Marietta my whole life. I've seen this small town grow into the big city it is today, this medical notification policy must pass. Children should not be faced with these decisions without their parents' knowledge. Children should not be allowed to get hormone therapy without their parents' knowledge. Their brain is not fully developed, and the effects of these hormones is almost irreversible. Many have regretted their transition and are scorned by the intolerant trans community. The amount of hate Paul Diffley has received is disgusting. Tolerance is not about dominance and shaming others, but being reasonable and respectful of others. I want to thank Paul Diffley, Nicholas Purdue, and Julie Vandergriff for all you do in serving this community. Don't give in to hate. Thank you.
Ellen Verloop, and I'd like to yield my time to John Leonard.
Okay. That's who's next.
And I'm John Leonard.
Welcome.
Hello, thank you so much. Well, I wasn't expecting to have the luxury of 6 minutes, so I prepared a 3-minute lightning round of things I've been wanting to say. So let me begin with the first one by saying hello to everybody, and thanks for having all of us here tonight. First up, with the recent federal court injunction in Escondido, reaffirming for the umpteenth time the rights of parents to dictate their affairs of their children, you think this question would be settled once and for all. The same constitutional obstacle to an overbearing government that existed in 1789 is still there, standing firm today. Any policy reestablishing rights that have been stripped away from parents should be easy to adopt. It shouldn't be controversial to establish policy for a constitutionally guaranteed right. And secondly, and if I feel an effective civics curriculum should be put in place at all grade levels. Our founding documents are not lengthy, nor are the basic concepts of our republic difficult to understand. My fear is that we are raising a generation of Americans who will be unable to govern themselves. As such, the single most important job you have as a board member is hiring the persons who will be standing in front of our children. Who are these people? Do they love their country? Are they able to convey a sense of pride in their country and reverence for our Constitution? Do they share the values and beliefs of this community, or are they products of our institutions of higher learning, activists, taking it upon themselves to indoctrinate their students? If you are a person who is of the opinion that activist teachers do exist, indoctrinating their students in Marxist, anti-American rhetoric, you must first acknowledge that long before any student is ever indoctrinated, their teachers have been. And third, and this is one of my favorites, I've heard this so many times, I always wanted to reinforce this, and that's that Julie Vandergrift, who is my trustee, has nothing to do with the 412 Church. She doesn't attend the church, didn't accept their offer of assistance, and has no control over who Tim Thompson or anyone else ever chooses to endorse. Fourth, we often hear from teachers who proudly tout our school district's high percentile ranking compared to the rest of the state. I see that as someone clinging to the mast of the Titanic. Presently, we are high and dry, but the ship's hull is split in two. We don't have long. Recently, Ms. Muchnick presented on student achievement to grade level standard. Most concerning was a drop-off in the sciences for our youngest English learners, due most likely to school closure and COVID masking requirements. Sacramento, coupled with various teachers' organizations, created those conditions. All the while, parents showed up by the hundreds to beg the previous board to make a stand against this nonsense. We won't forget who pushed this insanity down on our school district, and you shouldn't either. So please do not ever mandate masking, testing, or require vaccinations for staff or students. And finally, our governor has recently signed another round of unconstitutional legislation bent on limiting parental involvement of their minor children's well-being. The morally bankrupt individuals creating this legislation and the woke minions pushing it are creating a catastrophe for the children presently enrolled in our public schools. Governor Newsom, however, won't be around forever. So what I say to everyone listening is we will need all hands to unravel this ball of barbed wire being wrapped around our families. So do not fear speaking out. We all must play a part in the bringing of parental rights back to a state of normalcy, and for goodness sake, don't run away. So thank you so much.
Next, we'll hear from Lena Keener, and she'll be followed by Lupita.
I would like to yield my time for Lupita.
And I am after Lupita, and I would like to yield my time.
Thank you.
So you're Lynn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
And I'm Lupita. So, good evening, Marietta School Board members, teachers, staff, parents, and students. Again, my name is Lupita Aguilar, and tonight I'm here to bring to light the effects the Confidential Medical Services Code is having on healthcare employees, school staff, students, parents, and families. I'm not here to wage a war on words, but rather to start a fruitful conversation. From 2015 to 2018, I worked as an ultrasound technician at a local abortion facility in our neighboring town. During my 3 years of employment, I assisted in the execution of 9,000 plus newborns to be. Out of those 9,000, about 10% were patients under the age of 18 who were still enrolled in either middle or high school. I was puzzled at how these young ladies were there alone, having a surgical procedure with no parent aware of what was going on with their child. I began to ask these young ladies how they managed to be there during school hours. They informed me that the school staff allows the students to leave school grounds without notifying their parents to receive top secret corrective remedies for certain physical worries they were facing alone. I was flabbergasted at this news. What if the procedure went wrong? What if the surgeon perforated her uterus? What if she bled out? What if she was allergic to a medication that was administered to her? What if she stopped breathing? What if she died? Who were we going to talk to regarding her condition? Who was going to eventually inform the parents that their daughter was giving permission by an adult who was to protect her because there was no love to guide her in a permanent decision she would live with for the rest of her life? Now, these are physical complications I'm talking about. There are also mental and emotional complications that may eventually change the young lady's personality, character, and view of life. But how will a parent ever know that their little girl was a victim to the California Education Code Section 46010.1 if this code protects their reproductive rights? I now live with the emotional and mental scars of what I saw, heard, participated in, and smelled in the abortion clinic. I would not wish it upon my worst enemy to be entangled in such a deceiving, death-bringing lie that may affect each person involved directly or indirectly to also be a victim of this education code. As I heard these young ladies' silent cries for help, I could not stop thinking about my own two girls, my husband and myself. How we too can be impacted by this code that divides the community, families, brings shame, guilt, and death to our souls. Adults, I urgently ask you to remember what it was like growing up and feeling scared because of a situation we had gotten ourselves into, and how we just wanted to talk to our parents for guidance, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to do it. Maybe if an adult would truly have loved us to guide us in the right direction, we would have had a different perspective of life. Let us be those adults who do love our own children and our neighbors' children. Now, I understand that not everyone is part of the school board, works for the education or the healthcare system, but everyone here is part of a family. Every family has a right to know what is going on in their children's lives so they can help him out, as they will do so until they physically, mentally, and emotionally can no longer help. Not only a Band-Aid solution like the schools and doctors give, but rather a true mind, body, and soul healing. Parents, I encourage you to speak to your kids about the difficult, awkward conversation no one prefers to have, but these crucial conversations can give your children the tools needed when they are in a situation they just don't know how to handle on their own. And I end with this. It's just let our kids be kids. Don't force them to make adult decisions when their brain is still yet not developed and they don't have the experience in life to make life-altering decisions on their own. So thank you for your time.
We'll next hear from Amarissa Cubana, who will be followed by Yvette. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Amarissa Cubana, and I would like to take a moment to thank Paul Diffley for his tireless efforts in ensuring that the people of Murrieta's morals and values are upheld. You were elected and trusted to protect the children of MVUSD, and you have not let them down. The policy that is being voted on tonight falls perfectly in line with the direction that the community wants to move towards. The medical notification policy will prevent a child from making a life-altering decision and being left alone to pick up the pieces. How can we expect a child to know what is best for them? Under Murrieta City law, a child cannot get a tattoo. They cannot smoke. They cannot drink. They can't even stay out past 10 o'clock. There is literally a legal curfew in place. Yet, we are going to give children the responsibility of making medical choices. What kind of ridiculous logic would you have to use to justify that? A child needs their parents, period. It is not a hard concept to understand. We've had the privilege today from hearing from former Planned Parenthood Director Mayra Rodriguez and ultrasound technician Lupita. I truly hope that you take their first-hand testimony into account and that you trust their opinion. Please do not listen to the small minority of our community that opposes this basic logic. They do not value the family unit and the critical role a parent plays in a child's life. Please pass this policy 5-0. And for goodness sake, please leave our kids alone. Thank you.
Following Yvette will be Josefina Hartley.
Okay, I've abbreviated mine to save some time, but I might be a little choppy here. So hello, board members. I'm here to speak on item D1, revisions to Board Policy 5113. Currently, this district policy allows students to be released from school for confidential medical services without the knowledge or consent of their parents. Yet California Code 46010.1 clearly gives school authorities the discretion to allow or not allow their release. I see this policy was first adopted in 1990 and has been revised several times as recently as 2020. I'm not sure why previous school boards have allowed this policy to be put in place. I say any policy that allows students to be released from a locked campus without their parents' knowledge or consent is a violation of the trust parents place in the school district. It's reckless, potentially endangering students, and opens us up to liability. So I'm very pleased to finally see this revision to the policy on the agenda, which puts an end to it. And I certainly hope this is something we all can agree on. Thank you.
Following Josefina will be
Josefina Hartley right here. Hello.
Okay, and Jose is will be Jose following you.
Josefina. Okay.
Go
and
ahead.
I am yielding to Maria Riguero.
Okay.
We do not have a comment card for you.
thought I had a comment card. Is there no comment card?
I see a Jose. I see a Riley Nemi. Oh, tell me your name again.
Ruggiero.
Ruggiero? Rosemary? Romery?
Maria.
Maria. How about a Romery? Oh, that's you. Okay, great. Jose Carreno. Francis Burns. Jessica Tapia. Amy Davis. Eleanor Briggs. Jolene Cochran. Lucky Hartunian. Brittany Sateri. Stacy Parmenter. Karen Schaefer. Typically, you have to have a card.
May I use Josephine's 3 minutes? I don't know.
I suppose so.
Is that? Well, I'll start by saying thank you for allowing me to do that. Don't know what.
Proceed, please.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. President, Madam Clerk, and members of the board. As a retired Murrieta teacher, 10 years at the high school level, I am here to ask that you make parental consent for confidential students' appointments a requirement for students to receive any type of medical services, procedures, medications, pharmaceutical products, vaccinations, or referrals to such procedures or services. Of course, the exception being a medical situation where a parent cannot be reached and a child's life is at risk unless immediate medical attention is rendered. In addition, if it is a threat, which is what is often used to a student, that a parent is informed of such need, that becomes an issue for Child Protective Services, and school personnel are already mandated reporters. As a high school teacher, I can recall the hundreds of times I'd had girls come to me, often in tears, asking for a simple Tylenol, aspirin, Advil, because they had monthly cramps. However, based on policy, I was not allowed to give them a simple pain reliever, which has very rare and mild side effects. Yet, these same girls could be allowed to leave campus to receive consultations or procedures such as contraception, abortion, and in recent times, gender-affirming care, male, female, hormone blockers, and more. All services that have lifelong emotional, psychological, physical damage, and some requiring lifelong medical care. In addition, such medical procedures can have immediate and dangerous, life-threatening situations. And for the record, I was not even allowed to give them a cough drop. Requiring medical consent for a simple pain reliever, yet none for a student to leave campus to receive services which have lifelong consequences, is beyond ludicrous. No child should ever receive medical services of any kind. Again, with the exception of immediate medical emergency, where a child is at a risk, without the knowledge and consent of the parents. For schools to conceal such information from parents is not only wrong, but immoral. I know this board cares about our students and places their well-being as a #1 priority. So please, I urge you to vote for parental notification. Let's let California know that Murrieta School District does what is best for students. I'm asking you that you approve parental consent for Murrieta. And again, thank you for your time and dedication to our students, our educators, our staff, our parents, and our community.
Hear from Jose, and then Riley Nemi.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's Jose Carreno. There's a lot of us, a lot of Jose's.
I have no last name.
There's no last name.
But it works.
But yours is here.
Oh, well, it must be me. Somebody fill it out for me because I have a disability. Okay. Say when. Okay. Good evening, board members and superintendents. Before I get to my main point, I do want to give credit where credit is due, and that's to all of you. In the last few months, I have been paying close attention to the actions of the board and its decisions. I was pleasantly surprised at the way you have responded to the community's input. You listened to both sides painfully, deliberated on the best course of action, and boldly took a stance. It could not have been a bed of roses for all of you, especially Mr. Diffley. It is very reassuring for me to see our system work firsthand. Now to my main point. So I ran across an editorial in the October 10th issue of the Press Enterprise by Will Swine that further reinforced my confidence and optimism with your decisions on the parental notification policy. The author speaks about trial attorney John Manley. He sued and has won many child abuse settlements against several Catholic institutions and school districts. He has won settlements against the Archdiocese of LA for $660 million, Diocese of Delaware for $77 million, and the Oregon Society of Jesus for $50 million. Mr. Manley is very experienced in settling scores when it comes to child abuse cases. When it comes to school districts, Manley has successfully settled with several California school districts in cases of sexual abuse against students. LAUSD paid $139 million to settle legal claims with 69 parents. But LAUSD is not the only district that has lost to Manley. Torrance Unified paid $31 million to settle the claim for 8 students. Closer to home, Redlands Unified School District has paid almost $46 million in settlements as of now. I say as of now because it may get worse for Redlands since there are other cases still pending. In the article, John Manley is quoted as saying, "The common thread between the Catholic Church and public school scandals is secrecy." He says, "You're telling kids to keep sexual secrets, including gender issues, from their parents. That's a bad idea." When Manley is asked what he would recommend, he says, "You need a policy where children aren't told to keep secrets from their parents or other caregivers. The parental policy you already passed goes a long way to protecting our children and our district from lawsuits like the ones I mentioned. But there's still more to be done. Today, I'm asking you to reinforce this protection with the consent policy. When I found out that right now a 13-year-old can be released from campus without parental consent, I was incredulous. On the face of it, it does sound incredible that the district would allow this. Parents are ultimately responsible for their children and should give consent for their release from campus for any reason. We parents have the right to parent. Please help us do that."
Romarie, and after will be Francis Burns. Welcome.
Well, thank you. So I just wanted to say thank you to Paul Diffley, Nicholas Purdue, and Julie Vandergriff. So I'm here today because parental rights have been under attack not only here in California, but across country. It's a sad day when parents have to battle their natural rights as mothers and fathers. The loud minority of this community thinks it's okay for children to make adult decisions. The consequences of this theory, I'm afraid, will cause harm and suffering upon many children. Thank you, Board President, for defending our rights. The liars will call you hateful, racist, and radical. We've seen them do it to many parents and community members who don't agree with them. Speaking these lies is their only defense, but we have not backed down, and we won't back down. We stand with you, and thank you.
Thank you. Following Francis Burns will be Jessica Tapia. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Good evening, President Diffley, Dr. Andrews. Good evening. I'm going to just briefly speak, but before I do, first of all, I want to thank Board Member Purdue for visiting my classroom yesterday. Thank you very much, and you're all welcome to visit my classroom anytime you want. I'd also like to thank my principal, Dr. Harris, for implementing the school cell phone policy. It's working swimmingly so far, and in my opinion. And I would like to also publicly thank Chris Shore for everything that he does to help math teachers. I attended one of his trainings today at the district office, and I'm grateful for everything that he's offering to us. I do want to just briefly speak about the agenda item D1. You know, I was listening to all the speakers before me who are urging you to approve this policy, and you know what? I don't have anything more that I can say that hasn't already been said eloquently. So I'm just going to, one last time, please urge you all to vote in favor of this proposal. Thank you all for listening.
And following Jessica Tapia will be Amy Davis. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jessica Tapia, and I'm with an organization called Our Watch. Like it sounds, we believe we are to be watchmen on the walls in our communities because evil is constantly on the prowl and looking to devour. We work to expose, take action on, and provide guidance for people in the community and those surrounding to push back against evil, especially the evil that's after the children. I wanted to read you a quote before I get into what I'm here for tonight. Right is still right, even if no one is doing it. Wrong is still wrong, even if everyone is doing it. Quote by St. Augustine. So first, I want to thank you for making the right decision a little while back when the community asked you to vote in the parental notification policy. It's now time to make the next right decision in the medical notification policy. But there's also something very wrong being allowed to happen currently. We are now seeing girls who are entering the boys' locker room and bathroom and boys entering the girls' locker room and bathrooms. There's a specific situation happening at a middle school in your district that I've heard from several parents about, and I was saddened to hear that they had reached out to admin with their concerns, and these parents, as well as myself, were literally told, sorry, our hands are tied, and students can request accommodation if they're uncomfortable changing around their peers in their very own locker room. How horrific is it that public education has become so progressive and inclusive that we're seeing the regular rights of the 99 stripped because the 1% now gets special rights? Before anyone makes my concerns out to be hateful toward any student identifying as transgender, know my heart first and foremost breaks for the young girl who's being allowed right now to enter into the boys' locker room. Those are not her peers. She shouldn't be undressing around them. I'm very concerned for her safety, and male PE teachers shouldn't have to oversee this. I wish someone would just affirm her in the truth, which is that she was made a girl on purpose for a purpose, and attempting to be something she is not will lead her down a dark road that she will very likely end up regretting. So I'm here tonight to ask some questions. Is that what this board is going to allow to happen? If students do start asking for accommodations, are schools prepared to accommodate the 99 while the 1% get the locker room to themselves? And do you think it's right or fair to even put these children in the position to have to speak up for their own privacy and be risked being called names like transphobic? Are you aware of the lawsuit that was filed 1 week ago by the Loudoun County father whose daughter was assaulted by a boy identifying as a trans? He is suing the school board for $30 million. Are you aware of the Pennsylvania situation when students walked out of school because they didn't want the opposite sex in their locker rooms? Because of the voice of those students and parents, the school board revoked the trans bathroom locker room policy, and guess what the policy says now? The new policy defines, thank you.
And following Amy Davis will be Eleanor Briggs.
Good evening, board members. I have been a special education aide in the district for 11 years. Recently, the district received a request for reclassification from over 100 special education aides. Currently, aides are at a range of 15 to 17, and we are requesting that we be reclassified to the range of 25. As of today, aides are some of the lowest paid employees in the district. In the instructional assistant job goal description, it states we are to perform clerical and paraprofessional work, but the special education clerk is at a range of 30 and the paraprofessional is at a range of 24. Yet aides are at a 17. Aides are required to attend PROACT training. This training consists of how to de-escalate possible physical altercations or restrain if necessary. One of the campus security job duties are to be able to physically perform nonviolent crisis intervention procedures. Security is at a range of 25 and aides remain at 17. Aides attend mental health trainings throughout the year. We are taught how to recognize when a student is in crisis and what actions to take to keep that student safe. Mental health, depression, anxiety are on the rise, and these issues greatly affect our department. A lot of the time, aides are the first person the student feels comfortable talking to. Our population is growing. Over 20% of the overall population have IEPs. That number will rise to over 30 in the next 5 years. We have an increase in students with a decrease in learning levels. For example, math levels are so low that I now attend a Math 1 class with my students, learn the lesson, and then reteach it at a smaller setting and a slower pace. General ed teachers now need our help with all students, but our focus is supposed to be on the students with learning disabilities to help even the playing field. I was once told that if I wanted to make more money, I could go down the street and wait tables. And that's true, I probably could. Being a part-time employee at age 17 and paying for my family's health insurance doesn't leave much more to live on. But working with the students at MV is where I want to be. Watching the students grow, learn, and succeed is where my passion is. I have always said that the only thing that I want from my students is that years from now when they have children of their own in school, they remember that there was an adult on campus that was there to help when they needed it. Most of the time, people think that adult looks like a teacher or a counselor, but to our students, that adult looks like an aide. There is talk that the union wants to reclassify the foundation classroom aides only. We do not want to be divided. We are all just as valuable as one another. Our daily responsibilities differ, but our end goal is the same, to help the students become successful. We, the special education aides, are just asking that there be equity in our compensation. A reclassification is not only reasonable, but just. Thank you for your time.
See you again. Up there, leaving.
Could I ask a question quickly before you guys leave? One of you guys stay. And actually, this goes out to all public commenters. I'm a super visual learner, so I try to take notes. I don't always get your whole comment down. I really appreciate it when you follow up tomorrow or in the next week. Just send your public comments in. I notice a lot of you are reading. If you've got them typed up, can you hit them in an email to, and I don't know if my fellow board members want that, but it really helps me, especially like with the last comment that had so much data in it.
All right. Thank you. Eleanor Briggs, followed by Jolene Cochran. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. My name's Eleanor. My husband and I moved into the school district 3 years ago, which at the time when we moved, we did our research, highly desirable, highly rated school district, which was one of the reasons we chose Marietta. And up until probably 2 weeks ago, you would have told me that same thing, that I would have been, yes, this is an amazing school district with transparency and communication to the parents. Up until 2 weeks ago, I came across a podcast on a public platform that was talking about specifically a frustrated parent with her young daughter, with her son at a middle school, and there was a young girl allowed to change out in the boys' locker room, biological female. And it happened to be the same middle school that we have our son in, Dorothy McElhaney Middle School. This was my first notification as a parent that this was happening currently in my school. So, I don't take social media platforms and I don't just take it at its value, and I wanted to get the information for myself, give the school the benefit of the doubt. So I called and talked to the principal, Mr. Patain, and he told me, I said, sir, I have 2 questions for you. One of them, is this a true statement? Is this information going around true? And is it happening in our school? To which he replied, yes, it's happening, and it is happening now. My second question was, what are you going to do about it? Why was I not informed as a parent that this is happening in my school now? Now, then he goes and he quoted the law about the transgender policy, which I'm fully aware of. We are a law-abiding family, we're law-abiding citizens, and I understand the school has to do some laws and take their due course and do what they have to do. But why were we not informed as parents that it was happening now so that I could have the conversation? Mr. Patain went on to say that his hands were tied in this situation, which might be true, but how dare he tie the hands of the parents for us not to have the conversation with my son that this is happening? He's 13 years old, and by the way, I explained to Mr. Patain that if in fact that there's these boys who probably wouldn't mind seeing a young girl undress, but that's not for you to decide. That's for me as a parent to have the conversation with my child. This is happening. Here are your rights, and here's what we're going to do. But because we didn't get any notification, this is exactly what happened. I get no less than 24 emails in 1 month from the school. Not one email to me as a parent How right is that to say that you don't have a voice, you don't have a parental voice to give your child the conversation that needs to happen? So whether I pull him out of that class or not, that's not for you all to decide. That's for me to decide as a parent. So I'm here to ask, they said, why are you coming to this meeting? I want to know why there's no transparency. Why is there no communication that this is happening in our schools? Am I aware of the law? Yes. Was I aware that it's occurring right now in our school with no notification to our students or to the parents? There's no sign up that says, hey, you could become undressed in front of someone of the opposite sex. There's no sign. I'm extremely impassioned about this, and forgive me for not coming to a school meeting before, but now you'll probably see me a lot more, because this is not right. And I'm asking you, I'm beseeching you who make this decision as our governing board to consider that I have 3 daughters. If I have 3 daughters in a school system and they are allowed to undress in front of someone of the opposite sex without their knowledge, where does that put their mental health? How would you like to get undressed in front of someone of the opposite sex? I would not be comfortable, but we're asking our students to do that. We're asking them now to get undressed in front of somebody who they don't know. And I apologize, my time is over. I appreciate everything you do, and I appreciate that you guys are going to make the right decision.
Is that Jolene?
Yes. Let me make a general statement at this point. Some of the concerns that we've just heard will be addressed when the superintendent makes his statements in a few minutes. Jolene?
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi.
Following Jolene will be Lucky Hartunian.
I yield my time to Lucky Hartinian.
Thank you. Following Lucky will be Brittany Satan.
Good evening to all of you. According to a standard study this year, the state with the largest decline in public school enrollment is California, as well as New York and Illinois. Families are increasingly relocating to other states, as well as historically unprecedented moves to homeschooling. It's reached a high number, and private school and charter schools are reaching a high number. As of Marietta School District, in 2020 to 21 has lost 2.22%. 21 to 22 have lost 1.22%. As of 2022 to 23 so far, 1.39. You're wondering how I know that? I have that, okay? They're also showing the largest decline ever in math and to a lesser extent in reading, according to the National Center for Education Statistics. This is all updated, shown as of June 22. 50% of the students were very behind in their grade levels, as well as 1.4 million drop in students, even when the doors were open. Back up, students didn't return. Why? Well, California students' skills in reading and math the policymakers and legislators have kept themselves busy implementing radical ideology-driven curricular changes and laws. For example, CRT, the new sex education, the push of Planned Parenthood, who encourages children of all ages to visit them without parental permission. They give kids their toolkits on extreme sex education, gender fluidity, gender transition, cross-sex hormone therapy, commercial sex work processes. Hormone therapy, which is creating in the children, as of a new recent study, 93% heart disease and severe mental health as they return every month of their lives for this therapy. STD contraceptives and they abort babies without parental consent, and the continual leading of kids to be whatever gender they want to be as they become a multi-billion-dollar industry. And they just opened one up in Marietta. In the Bible, in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus issued a stern warning to those who cause these children to sin. He says, if anyone causes one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their necks and be drowned in the depths of the sea. I thank you for those of you who stood up to fight back for the parents' rights. I'm very grateful to you. And I know that you will continue battling for our children because they are in jeopardy. Our children are being treated wrong. And of course, treated in a way that the one world order wants them to be, to control this country. Help them, please. Save their lives. Thank you.
Brittany Satan will be followed by Stacy Parmenter. Welcome.
Hey there. My name is Brittany Satari, and I am a first grade teacher at Rail Ranch Elementary. I'm also the proud MEA Elementary Director and a bargaining committee chair member. I have worked closely for the last several years with the teachers and the senior cabinet in this district to resolve issues and to address working conditions that impact our educators. Our collaboration and our solution-oriented approach to resolution has been very productive, and I appreciate the work that both sides contribute. At the end of last year, in an effort to encourage lower class sizes, we agreed to a 2-year elementary overage pay MOU. I'm here tonight in support of our kinder teachers who were excluded from that MOU. While middle and high school has always had overage pay, elementary historically has never had overage pay. Elementary instead has had packed classrooms that sometimes would get lowered after 20 days with an additional overage teacher. This practice is not what's best for any of our stakeholders, and most importantly, it's not what's best for students. Under the new MOU, I started this school year with 23 students compared to last year when I started with 32. I cannot tell you what a difference it makes having a smaller class. While some may argue that kinder teachers do not have all 32 children at the same time, they do have 32 conferences, 32 progress reports, 32 report cards, 32 children to assess one-on-one, 32 art projects, 32 parents to communicate with, and in addition, they do have overlap. So they have 32 children every single day, all at once. So while they may not have them for the entire 6 hours, they have 32 children. That is their workload. Under our current MOU, teachers in grades 1 through 3 are receiving a small daily rate for every child over the 25th student. Again, the intent was not to pay us, but to lower the class size in the first place. If you couldn't, at the very least, it gave us the benefit as the same as middle and high school has had for many years. It's not a perfect plan, but it was the best we could do in negotiations to meet the demand for class size reduction. Kindergarten teachers should not have been left out of this MOU. They deserve the same overage pay language just as much, if not more, than grades 1 through 5. I encourage the board, the senior cabinet, and the senior cabinet to take action to rectify the mistake and show our respect and support for all teachers, especially our kindergarten teachers. Thank you for your time.
Stacy Parmenter will be followed by Karen Schaefer. Welcome.
I had something funny I was going to say. Apparently it's not going to. Oh, there it is. Found it. Good evening. It's good to see you all again. My name is Stacy Parmenter, and I have taught kindergarten at Marietta Elementary for 17 years. I do want to start by thanking you. I want to thank you for always trying to put the needs of our students first. Thank you for the time and effort that you give to this community. And thank you for supporting and listening to teachers like me who just want to make a difference in the lives of the children that we teach. I did want to do a few quotes from a well-known book called All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It was published 30 years ago, but its core meaning still has as relevant today. Share everything, play fair, Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say sorry when you hurt someone. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush, which is important. And warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. A lot of things have changed, except for those core kindergarten values. But they've all changed over the last 17 years of teaching kindergarten. And the kindergarten teachers of this district have rolled with it. And we've done it because it's what we are passionate about. But now it's time for us to speak up. Kindergarten class sizes across the district are very unbalanced. At some sites, kindergarten teachers are teaching no more than 24 students, while at sites like mine, we're teaching 28, 29. Antelope, they're teaching 31. Ever since the district, wait, did I already say that? We've taught these large groups year after year with little extra support or compensation for the money we have spent out of our own pockets on projects, rewards, and supplies. Now the district is compensating for class overages for elementary. However, kindergarten was not included. I'm going to be honest with you, I am struggling. I'm struggling with the thought that the wonderful kindergarten teachers of this district are not being treated with the same respect that the 1st through 5th grade teachers are being given. I implore you to recognize and appreciate this exceptional grade level. Please do not let this inequality stifle the passion that I have and that all kindergarten teachers have for teaching these tiny humans. Thank you.
Karen Schaefer will be followed by Chris Schultz.
Chris Schultz.
Schultz, sorry. Welcome.
Thank you. Dear school board members, my name's Karen Schaefer, and I've been a kindergarten teacher at Murrieta Elementary School for the past 18 years. I want to thank you as a school board for your commitment of making Murrieta Elementary School District a place that families choose for their children to attend and a place that draws excellent teachers to work and stay. My 4 children attended Murrieta schools and had a very rich educational experiences. I'm here tonight to address the salary differences between kindergarten teachers and the elementary teachers. I've seen lots of changes over the years. I started out with 20 students. I had an AM and I had a PM teacher that helped, plus a trained phonemic awareness aide that worked for an hour during small group rotations. I would then help the PM teacher with her 20 students. Those students had a very different academic experience than what I can offer today. In 2012, I then had a total of 31 students, an AM and a PM class. No longer did we have the extra teacher, but we did still have a trained aide. I had 11 extra students so that the first, second, and third grade classes could be smaller, and we were in compliance because then on paper, the average for all the grades were about 24. In reality, I had the 32 students, and 31, 32, 30 sometimes, as first, second grade had 21 to 23 students. Since that time, though, I've always had 32 students and 33. We didn't complain, but over this time frame, we also lost our trained aides, and we only have parents to rely on to help us in our classrooms. We have, I'm always talking about Murrieta Elementary, but we have, last year we had 4.5 kindergartens funnel into 6 first grade classes so that those numbers could be low. We didn't complain. Then we had this big push with TK and low numbers. The average class size at Murrieta L and TK is 18 students with another teacher in there and a trained aide for the whole day. They got all new furniture, dramatic play, water centers outside, all this great, wonderful stuff. Yet, kindergarten has not received any updated equipment. We use our personal money to buy needed things, or my husband makes them. I have had the same class furniture since I started working there, all the same dramatic play centers, everything, for 18 years, and they weren't new then. I did get new carpet, though, a couple of years ago, so I was thankful for that. When I saw the new contract this year, I was very excited about the generous raise that the board gave. But then as I read that we didn't get the overage pay, and we're sandwiched in between the TK program with their low classes and wonderful teacher support, and the upper grades getting extra pay for their overage. But what about kindergarten? So for 11 years, I've had 30 to 32 students and not any compensation, and now elementary gets compensation, and they've had the lower class sizes for a long time. It's just not equitable. The district has saved money on our backs, and I feel that we're not valued, but we are. We should be valued as kindergarten teachers. Thank you.
Chris will be followed by Courtney Cooper. Welcome.
Good evening. President Diffley, members of the board, Dr. Andrus, thank you for this opportunity to speak on the topic of civic decorum. My name is Chris Schultz, and tonight I speak to you as an MVUSD educator, a parent whose 2 of 3 kids graduated from MVUSD, and a member of my school community. In the spirit of what I'm about to say, I'll note I'm hoping to model civil discourse. Some background. I, a first-generation college graduate, grew up on a farm and subsequently taught for 16 years in one of the most conservative counties in one of the reddest states in the nation, Wyoming. Never, however, have I seen the likes of the chaos playing out in this room as of late. If you know me, you know I ran a couple of high-profile political races there as a minority candidate. You know my mother was a majority party local precinct committee woman for years. And you know there was a time where I could walk in off the street and be seen by the governor without appointment. Why does any of that matter? Because of the behavior that's come to characterize civic engagement in this arena. Contrary opinions are a productive mechanism of our democracy, but only when people listen and hear each other. As of late, it's painfully clear that few are here to actively listen. Rather, most are here to hear their own voices and personal agendas in an echo chamber. Did I ever trade barbs with any opponents as a candidate? Yeah. But we still could have gone to dinner together afterward. We volleyed ideas, not personal attacks, and never in my experience as a candidate did I receive a single piece of hate mail, a nasty or threatening phone call, or malicious social media attention. Was I alarmed by people who politely threw me off their doorsteps as much as people who immediately supported me based on my partisan affiliation? You bet. But people were respectful of one another and their differences because we all belong to the same community. All that is to say, the discourse happening here is in no way civil. In fact, calling it discourse is a stretch at times. It's also to say I've had the displeasure of being at the hands of others' manufacturing of political crises and witness to said parties then riding to the rescue of those red herrings. In any circumstance, it's an embarrassment. Public comment isn't supposed to be an unbecoming set of tirades, personal in nature. Board reports are supposed to let the community know what their representatives have been up to for the last month. They are not a time to respond to public comment, to dive into political diatribe, as school board member is a nonpartisan office, or to engage in petty bickering. Is the Marietta way to write our name on others' work, step around the past practice of transparency, requiring 3 readings for new policy or policy revisions? Can you condone this behavior in this room across the last several months as a model for student behavior on campuses across this district? Our students are watching and listening to the people in this room as community role models and leaders, and the tenor and jabs would have it appear that MVUSD is having an identity crisis. To quote John Coffey, a character from Stephen King's novel, The Green Mile, I'm tired, boss. Mostly, I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. Each person in this room, in this community, has the power to break that cycle, so let's do it. That's the Marietta way. Thank you.
Let's see, Courtney Cooper, followed by Kelly Parsons.
It's not here.
So.
Kelly Parsons?
Yeah, Kelly Parsons.
Kelly Parsons?
Oh, there we go. No need to hurry. It's all right.
Okay. Sorry, I've been sitting a while. I need to move those legs. They're long. Sorry. Hi, Mr. Diffley. Hi, I'm here. I'm Kelly Parsons, and I'm here to share a few things with some some comments from some teachers who couldn't make it tonight. I'm also the MEA organizing chair, and I'm excited to share some good news with you. Karen Hayden from Antelope Hills shares, shout out to Carrie Gonzalez and Haiti Anderson in the Student Support Department. Their help, behavior support plans, follow through, and direct daily classroom behavior support helped my 4-year-old student settle into his new environment. While awaiting other necessary educational supports to happen, they provided necessary tools and supports to help my extreme little one be successful, and they did this with encouragement, enthusiasm, consistency, and professionalism. Both Carrie and Haiti are amazing. Nicole Chesler from Vista Murrieta shares, in my Foundation in Education's class, we had a speaker from the Historical Society of Hemet Valley bringing artifacts from the Rosen School from 1880 to 1916. This included letters from prospective teachers to the headmaster of the school inquiring about prospective positions. The students were able to hold a square nail, melted glass, and broken ceramic artifacts from the family's ranch. This fits in perfectly with our unit about the history of education in the United States and brought those moments to life in the classroom. Adriana Toon from Avaha shared, our whole grade level is doing so well together in the new PLT structure, and the lower class sizes are enabling us to pull small groups and really target instruction more effectively. We are so happy with the low class sizes and our ability to collaborate. Rod Amstutz from Lisa J. Males shares, with only 28 students instead of 32 to 35, I am more able to develop relationships with my students while meeting their educational, social, and emotional needs. One of my most difficult students had a personal breakthrough where he was able to speak to his classmates about his struggles and felt more confident to do so because of the smaller class size. This is my first year teaching in 27 years, and I have had in 27 years, I've had less than 32 students. Keep those class sizes down. Lynn Torres from Avaha, with lower class sizes this year, along with my second grade teammates, I've been able to successfully attend students' academic and social emotional needs so much more than last year. We've been able to run true small groups and differentiate instruction much more effectively. We are building deeper, more meaningful relationships with our students and their families and grown-ups, and we have been able to accomplish so much more throughout the school day. It's our hope that the focus on keeping class size low will continue to be a priority for our district for the benefit of all parties involved. I have more, and I'll be happy to send it to the board with all of the comments from our teachers. Thank you so much.
Mikhail Hunzeker, who will be followed by Mrs. Munoz, sorry. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I, unlike most people here, am not speaking about students at the high school level. I'm speaking about children at our elementary level as well. It's come to my attention that we are flexing the discipline matrix at Rail Ranch to suit the situation as it is needed. In March, my son was assaulted at a private party, hit 10 times in the head by a certain child. Lo and behold, this student immediately was transferred to his school this year. Nobody knew. Didn't really bother us. It wasn't a thing. We didn't know. Until he hit him again after harassing him on the playground, saying, at least I don't get beat up in birthday parties, and then punched him right in the side of the head. Big old bruise, fantastic fun, great issue. My child didn't hit him back, which I'm very proud of because my response as a child would have been immediate lightning and thunder. My son walked calmly right over to the aide, escorted by a friend of his, and said, I was hit on the playground. And the teacher then investigated the situation, and it became, well, you didn't know the other kid's name. You didn't know his name. You didn't know his name. Why didn't you know his name? The rules state you're supposed to know his name. Rather than, oh my gosh, you've been hit. Let's deal with this. Later, my son is victimized again the next week by being told, you can't play football on the playground because the other child wants to play too. And it's not fair that your assailant can't play if you get to play as well. A week later, a friend of my son pushed a smaller child. His parents don't speak English very well. They're first-generation immigrants. They were almost coerced into signing a 3-day disciplinary measure for their child for pushing a smaller child. The child that assaulted my son stands about 6 inches and 30 pounds heavier. One straight to the head. I took him to the hospital. Marietta PD was not notified. This is in direct violation of your board policy. I can cite numbers, but I don't want to waste the time. My issue is that it seems to be that the disciplinary matrix is flexible to suit the need of the situation, and I understand the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. But when your kid is hit in the head and then gets re-victimized by being asked, well, you didn't know the kid's name. You didn't know his name. You're supposed to know his name. Instead of dealing with the issue immediately, it's a little disheartening, especially since I, like many people confessed here tonight, with my wife, intentionally moved to Marietta to reap the benefits of what we were perceived to be an amazing school district. And I have been let down. And I do not envy Miss Nord attempting to fill the shoes of the woman that stood before her. It's got to be hard. But decisions are hard, and we have to make better choices. You can find my contact information at the bottom of the sheet if you'd like to discuss this further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Andrews, can we ask for a staff member to follow up, please?
Yeah, I've already actually sent a message.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Mary Helen Munoz. Thank you. And I work for Family Services in Marietta School District.
Could you pull the microphone down?
I do the before and after care.
Thank
And
you.
I'm here to talk about the high turnover rates at the classified jobs and the districts. I've spoken also with DIS, who also have a high turnover rate. We have noticed that new hires and subs are leaving for other districts and positions, even within 3 months or shorter. The result is an increased work for those of us that have been here for years. And with the addition of ELOP, we have had an increase in children. This has made the situation harder for us to properly supervise the children. I have spoken with other SEEDS and DIS employees and asked what they believe is the root cause for this high turnover. The most common answer that I have received from both sides is that it comes down to not enough pay for the work required. The increased ratios and the added duties and the short staff that we encounter every day is a common answer. UMass, the answer for this situation is very simple: a salary increase. We have to stay competitive with the surrounding districts who are paying more for the same position and similar duties. Thank you.
Okay, we'll next hear from the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Diffley. Because the hour is late, we're almost 2 hours in, and we haven't even had a piece of business yet. We'll try and get through this relatively quickly. Since the last month, had a great opportunity to visit many of our schools. We've already, as the students mentioned, they're at a lot of the grade periods, and a lot of those grades are coming forward. Had a great chance to be in many classrooms and see the great work of our schools underway, our teachers, who it looks like a lot of them are heading out. Good for you guys, because you still have work tomorrow. Thank you. Appreciate all that work, and it's great to see the energy that gets poured into students from them and making the best out of difficult situations sometimes, and then turning great situations into some really amazing experiences for kids. I'm delighted to see some of those opportunities come out on a regular basis. This week I had a chance to visit the after-school program, an ELOP session over at Buchanan with Mr. Lurkins, and see the ELOP program in action. What's really pretty delightful is ELOP is our Extended Learning Opportunities Program. It's funded by the state at no cost. And there's some requirements of who can attend that. We also have an after-school program, which does have some income levels, and some parents pay for the service, some of it's free. The reality is all of those programs interact very seamlessly to the point where you can't really tell which child's in which program, which is great because it feels very welcoming and comfortable for all, meaning someone who is getting free services is not shuffled off to one side of the campus, and someone who's getting paid services is somewhere else. It's all treated as one. And so it's very, very integrated, the approach, and there's a terrific feel on our campuses in these programs. This month, I had a chance to lead a training specifically with our high school leaders, our principals, assistant principals over career pathways, our head counselors. And we had a terrific conversation, and we launched it with the discussion of a profile of a graduate, which is kind of an anchoring document, our North Star, as it were, of what we want our students to look like at the end. We recognize that a profile of graduate is not just for high schools, but it's actually for all of our schools. And we'll be asking teachers to look at that and determine, like, where do we contribute to that along the way. But along the same time, we had a really terrific conversation and a recognition that we need to shift a message within the district. And it's happening everywhere. This is not just Murrieta, but this is something that we took, grabbed this one. And that is the reality that College for All is a message that needs to be modified. Doesn't mean that we're not want to downplay college or university-driven kids. That's not the point. But for those that don't go or don't find the value in a university degree at this time, we sometimes undervalue their choices when we don't celebrate or lift them to the same level. So we're taking an approach at the moment, and there'll be much more coming out about this in the future months to come. But it's really a post-high school credential, meaning, and that credential could be a degree, a certificate, a license, something along those lines. And that needs to be the new message. And even how we communicate it in print and digital formats, and then all of the pieces that are associated with that. So we actually talked about our career exploration efforts that goes all the way down to career awareness efforts for little people, which I've seen that happen in elementary classrooms where I saw kids playing with little dolls, little paper wooden dolls, and they were putting on uniforms, so they could learn about what the jobs were. All the way up to, and I saw it again this week, I saw a veterinarian talking to students in a middle school. He showed all the array of jobs based on your training. And next to him was the contractor who spoke about being a builder, building residential and commercial construction. And then on to the different tools that we use for exploring careers. But that doesn't stop there. We're also looking at the career pathways we currently offer and ones that might come in the future. And need to address some of more hands-on skilled positions like construction and metal shop. We also don't have an ag program anywhere in the district, and agricultural science is also part of our future. And so we looked at a whole variety of elements that will work to improve what we offer in the district. So other than we had the first initial conversation, that's where we've started. We've actually had a couple additional conversations to start moving the needle on some of those activities, but don't expect this to happen all for next year. This is about a 10-year plan. So give it some time, be patient, and contribute where you can. We appreciate that. Lastly, we're in the final stages of our Golden Bell application. Golden Bell is an award given by the California School Board Association to a school board in a school district for a practice or an effort that's been underway. And so we've applied for that for our inclusion efforts of our special education students within regular activities. Many of you, and I've actually spoke to parents and grandparents today because I was out at Unified Flag Football at Warm Springs today, and we had students from across the district, and I was talking to some parents and a couple of grandparents, and they were so delighted for the opportunity, and it didn't really matter if they were a parent of an athlete or a parent of a partner. They were very happy to be there. It taught so much about them coming together as individuals and treating each other with respect and dignity and appreciation for each other, even their differences. And in asking this one parent, I said, has it made a difference for you? Have you seen a change in your child since they become a partner or a buddy to the student with a disability? And he said, absolutely, they're a different person. And so because of those opportunities that staff have made available and the district has supported, and what I mean by that, it's like buses are over there, there's food stands, there's a sound system, maintenance is out there painting the lines for 4 different football fields to play. It's an effort. It's a specific targeted effort, and we actually do it 10 times a year. 4 times for middle school, 6 times for high school. And that's just one element of our inclusion effort. And so it's really terrific to be able to see that and the School Board Association to consider our district for that type of recognition. Mr. Diffley, as you know, kind of put me on the spot there a little bit. That's all right. To address some of the concerns that have been mentioned. Again, this is not a debate, and I don't have all materials prepared to present a presentation for you on this, so I'll have to wing it just a little bit. But I'll refer to a couple of laws and some things in legislation that we're pretty aware of. Assembly Bill 1266, I think is the correct number, was passed about 10 years ago. It's been a decade. And that changed the landscape for us in public schools. And it's something that, again, it's state law, not a board policy that we have necessarily opportunity to adjust on our own. But it does provide for, in essence, I'll use the word, and so excuse me if I don't have the right word to help with the meaning, but in essence, a protection for an individual who's a transgender student to protect their identity and where they are in the process. And it does allow them to do things such as change their name and use of facilities or participate on an athletic team. And it also excludes us from communicating to other parents who those individuals are. It bars us from doing that. The only limitations we can do that is in the event of a first responder who's trying to deal with a medical emergency. Furthermore, and so it kind of ties our hands. That's a good phrase. It's an adequate phrase. There's only so much we can do because we're bound to protect all students, including this individual, as well as all of our students and what they experience. And that rests on us. We are very aware of that. That's not taken lightly. And we know the conflict, we know the burden that you all feel, because we feel it too, of what that means. What we've done in our district to try and mitigate that to the best of our ability is provide options. And one of those options is that a parent, once they decide this, or a student, if they're uncomfortable, they can choose to have a schedule change possibly. Or we've also provided, especially in our middle schools, a different changing stall. So it's a private changing stall. Let's face it, middle school years are awkward in the first place. Maybe someone, for whatever reason, wants to use that. We're going to be expanding the number of those in certain facilities and add them to other schools where they currently don't exist. The other part too, and so we'll take this another step. As you know, as was mentioned, that the governor signed legislation around restrooms, single-use restrooms. We're in the process of identifying and labeling all of those so that students who want, any student, not a transgender one being forced there, or any student wanting to use a single-stall restroom would have that option. And those will be designated for those students. And that will, in the future, will extend all the way down to elementary schools as well. The other part too, which was well spoken, in the recognition that the state law is the state law, is that there's not a mechanism for us to notify families, other families, that there would be a transgender student around them. So we're looking at our annual parent notification policy as possibly a vehicle, but we'd be open to additional ideas about notification that would also uphold all elements of the law. So this is not an easy problem to solve. Unlike, say, a flat tire that you can change, this is a dilemma that there is no real clear-cut solution. All the best we can do is hope to mitigate and manage the effects and just do our best to try and figure out, understand, appreciate, and do our best to communicate. But there is no quick, cut and dry solution. That concludes my remarks. I need a drink of water.
I think you should. Great. Thank you. Now we'll hear from the board members. First, Mrs. Van de Griff.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see so many of you out there today. And I really mean that because literally you are the ones in authority over the school district. Sometimes I think it probably can feel like, there's so many laws that, that the public is subject to as being sort of underneath this massive bureaucratic structure that begins, probably, in Washington, D.C., goes to Sacramento and makes its way down. So if ever you feel like people are scolding you for coming and using your voice to talk about what's important to you in your children's schools, don't ever allow them to shame you from doing that. And so today at the other session, we had our bond consultant come give us a presentation. And I just can't even express how important it is that everyone, you and your neighbors, our whole community, engage in this process because, as it goes along, there's many needs that are being, put forward for us to consider. The costs, which have not even been presented to us, they're anticipated to be very high. I know our family just got our property tax bill, and sometimes I don't look very closely at it, but since I knew this was coming up, I took a look at it, and I think everybody should look at their property tax bill. And whenever we go shopping for anything, we make a value judgment. Not only is this something that I want to buy, but can I afford it? So, sometimes I feel like people are kind of judgmental. Oh, you're coming here and you're complaining or whatever. But, you know, we want to focus on the positive, and I have gotten some really good feedback on the cell phone policy. Kids are at school and they are interacting with each other, and I think that's really important for, for their lives, you know, really. And then, you know, the schools are being innovative, and when the kids are not on their phone, they're making little awards, you know, like they get an award perhaps for being caught reading, you know, instead of having their nose in their phone all the time. So, I mean, I think that's a real positive, and that's something that our board in our district enacted. So that's a positive. But at the same time, I'm getting reports on different things that are just kind of concerning me. And one of them was one of the comments we heard today about bullying, because I have been notified by other people of some bullying that's taking place in the schools. And I just think as an adult, if I as an adult were physically touched, hit, or whatever by an individual, you know, that would scare me. And I would call the police, you know, that's what I would do. And so I don't really know how we can expect kids who are required by law to go to school every day and be frightened every single day thinking that someone might hurt them. And I just don't know how we can't, I don't know how that can't be given the utmost seriousness. And so I don't want to, I was actually hoping to talk about iReady today, and I'm going to save that for another time. But I just can't imagine being forced to go someplace every day where I would be afraid someone would hurt me. And I think that should be really a very high priority. And that's all I have to say for today. Thank you.
Thank you. The rest of the speakers will be in order. Myself, Mrs. Lund, Mr. Pardue, and Mrs. Young. Okay. Briefly, and I agree with you. I cannot believe that, physical violence on campus, especially at the young age, is a very difficult thing because kids often do not understand how to respond to it, are frightened. Some of them won't say anything. They'll go home and just withdraw. This has to be addressed. It really does. On a more pleasant note, I had a chance to listen to the Vista Marietta Choir the other night at their concert. It was brilliant. It was especially interesting because the drama department had constructed a big set on stage, and the choir, who had thought they were going to sing in that facility, had to be moved to the multi-purpose room. And I thought, how is this going to work? You know, but it was wonderful. The sound was excellent. The diction was clear. And to watch the kids perform and just close your eyes and listen to it, worth a lot. And I hope when Christmas season comes and Thanksgiving comes, that you all try to attend a concert from one of the schools, because the kids really do a beautiful job. It's a joy, and right now we need all the joy we can get. I accompanied Mrs. Vandegrift on a couple of school visits. One was to Chevala, and that was a very interesting time. One of the things that we did was to visit the band room, because I'm interested in the orchestra and band and so forth and so on, and they were practicing doing the normal practice things, which I understand because I was in band and orchestra. And it was very delightful to watch them play, and they were very serious, and they paid attention to what was going on, and they did not pay attention to us, which is perfect. Then we went into the library, and that was fun too, because I love books. I have a library at home, and the librarian was very accommodating and showed us the things that she had accomplished in terms of decoration and buying books and so forth, and shared with us things that she would like to accomplish, and that was a joy. Always like to go into libraries. Mesa is putting on a play that starts on October 25th. It goes 25th, 26th, 27th. It's called The Play That Goes Wrong. And it's a comedy. And heavens knows we need a comedy right now. So I urge you, if you can, to check on Mesa's poster that's online and try to see The Play That Goes Wrong. Share the harvest. This is a big deal. And it was mentioned by one of the students. It's just super. The person who thought of it, and I can't think of his name, in the first place, who's no longer with us, was inspired. And to see the community come out and enjoy the food and the games and so forth, and the games and activities are provided by the students themselves, the high school students. It's really a worthwhile day. And yeah, your arm gets tired carving. Those turkeys are hot. We've got what we can do 40 turkeys at a time, I think. Not cutting, but cooking. And boy, they come out really hot. But I hope that you can also take advantage of that. And please, if you know anybody who's down in the dumps or is struggling a little bit, mention this to them, because I think they would enjoy coming out. Down in the dumps. People don't know what that means anymore, but never mind. Oh, and by the way, thank you all. We all got stars, and we all are thrilled to death. Nice watercolor, too. Now, very quickly, the other night, I attended a very interesting and exciting evening over at Dorothy Males Middle School, which was called Employees of the Year. Now, it isn't just teachers, and it isn't just administrators. For example, there's Anna Egan, who is a 7th grade ELA and drama teacher at Chavela Middle School. And it has a little bio about her, which is very interesting, and some great pictures. These are not of her, they just happen to be there. We have, for example, everybody ends up from different classifications. Here's Calvin Tiny Walker. He's the campus supervisor for Warm Springs Middle School, and how he works with other students. And these are just random things that I'm picking out. This is a giant of a man. He makes me look tiny. His name is David Cheslar. He's a skilled maintenance worker, maintenance and operations. That's something you don't hear about a lot, but really, really important. He's an exceptional work ethic. He's considered the person of the year for that particular department. And there's people throughout the book. I'm so excited that this is being done. And I'm so excited to learn more about these employees and why they got the recognitions that they did. And this is something that our superintendent has amplified, and I think it's really superb.
Thank you. Appreciate the team that put that on, and you can see their photos in the lobby.
Yes. It's a lot of photos and a lot of good people. The last thing is CTE. It's moving forward. We're getting a lot done. A lot of discussion going around campuses, as I mentioned before, looking at possibilities of what we can do here. We've got some land here we're not using. How can we consolidate or change things? And we have some new bills happening in several areas around the city, which are going to mean more people, and we're going to need more room at the same time that we're looking for room for CTE. So stay tuned. It'll be an interesting journey. Mrs. Lund.
So speaking of the Golden Bell, award, which is an award given to outstanding programs to different school districts. Moreno Valley was up for one, and I was asked to validate for it. So that means that I went to Moreno Valley, and they took me around and showed me all the different elements of it that they had put on their application, and I was to validate that they were in fact doing it. And they had wonderful gardening at the different elementary schools. They picked a whole bunch of tomatoes and rinsed them off, and then a little kid handed me a handful with his little muddy hand. And I ate them. They were delicious, and he told me the key to growing tomatoes was to let them ripen. So there you go, a little gardening tip for today. The thing that was very interesting to me, Mr. Daniel, was their transformation to some electric vehicles and some, what's the alternative to gasoline, the other one?
Compressed natural gas.
Compressed natural gas. And the most interesting thing to me were all the problems that they ran into, the unexpected complications. And I have a 3-ring notebook this thick that I would love to hand over to you so you could look at it, because I know we are always transforming our bus routes and what our services and everything. So it's very interesting. They go through tires far more quickly because the electric buses are so heavy. So it's just an unexpected cost. So you think, oh, we're saving all this money over here. Well, maybe it's a wash. I don't know. Anyway, I was very honored to asked to do that. I did go over to McElhaney to the Colt Crew Peer Mentoring Program, which is their inclusion program for students with special needs in athletics, and it's their peer mentoring program. So I met with the what we would call typical students, who then are assigned with a special ed student. And Cynthia Nelson and Rebecca Huth, I appreciate their invitation. And actually, Cynthia Nelson was one of our employees of the year on Monday. I did go to, and I really want to encourage everyone to go see this play. It's called Miss Rosetta and the Calvary Missionary Committee. It was being performed over in the Alley in downtown Marietta. Next month in November, it will be down in the Merc in Temecula. This is produced by our beloved Carol Hernandez, who used to be our coordinator for visual and performing arts. And it's just a wonderful snapshot of the 1950s of this group of women talking. And they have a little conundrum, so they go through the whole thing, but you will laugh, you will cry, you will sing hymns with them, you'll get mad. And it was just absolutely wonderful. It's a very small, intimate setting, so there's not very many people in the room. It's great. I would really encourage going to see that. I did attend the Excellence Through Equity conference. And I know sometimes the word equity is not viewed positively, but I really want to talk about 2 things that were takeaways for me for that. There was one speaker who walked in and said, "Que hay en su mochila?" And that's Spanish for what's in your backpack. And I don't know, when my kids were like in 3rd grade, I was afraid of what was in their backpacks. But what he talked about was, instead of looking at kids for their limitations, maybe they're not good at spelling, maybe they're not good at reading, maybe they don't have good social skills, maybe they're not good at athletics, whatever their limitations are, let's talk about what they're bringing. What's in their backpacks? What's in their culture? What's in their family? And what are they bringing into our classrooms? And I just thought that was a wonderful way to sort of restart how we look at students. The other very interesting little data point that I took away from there when we talk about equity is that in the Texas juvenile detention system, they did some stats, and when kids enter the juvenile detention system in Texas, they get a full physical. For many of these kids, it's their first physical that includes vision and hearing. 7 out of 10 of those kids that are in the juvenile detention system, which in some ways is the pipeline to prison, need glasses. And they don't know it, and they didn't know it, and they don't have access to medical care to get that. So that's a piece of equity that I know we can provide, and we do vision screening here. And it was just a very interesting stat to me that's so fixable. And maybe the little kid in kindergarten who can't see the board, so he sits in the back and disrupts. Okay, I see my kindergarten teacher's like, yeah, bothering his neighbors. But then he gets behind academically because he's dealing with so much behavior stuff, and then he's the bad kid, and then he's staffed into SPED. And this is how we end up with 7 out of 10 kids in the juvenile detention center or system that need glasses, potentially. I do want to remind everyone of the Rotary Club of Marietta's Field of Honor coming up. It's up the whole week around Veterans Day. starting the Saturday before and the Saturday after. And if you haven't been there, you really need to go. It's in downtown Murrieta in the city park, which is right between like where the police station is and the library and City Hall. And there are in the main area, there's over 2,000 American flags. And you can purchase an American flag and put a loved one's name on it. For $10. And you can either take that flag home with you and bring it back the next year, or you can allow Rotary to store it for you and display it again next year. Year after year, we have flags that have been up there for the whole, I think this is the 13th year that they've done it. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because every fifth grader in Murrieta Valley Unified School District goes there on a field trip. And they go around to different stations about our military history, about patriotism, about civic engagement. There's one whole section of fallen heroes. I would really encourage local fallen heroes. I would encourage everyone to go there to see that, because if you've ever driven on Clinton Keith, you may not know that in fact Clinton Keith was killed in the line of in military service, and we have a flag for him. And he went to school through our school system, and he lived here as a resident. There's also the different war memorials where we have veterans who are aging for the Korean, the Vietnam, what else would there be? Desert Storm, the different monuments who talk about what they fought for. And they talk about with firsthand knowledge. And it's just an amazing experience for our students to go to. And I would just encourage anybody to go through the week around Veterans Day. Veterans Day is usually on Monday, right? Or Tuesday? Anyway, that whole week.
It's on the 11th.
Okay. Share the Harvest, really quick for those of you who don't know, if you can share, please do. They need donations. Just go to the Murrieta Mesa High School website or call over there. What do you need? They need turkeys, they need canned goods, they need dried goods, because they make packages for people to take home of shelf-stable items along with a turkey, but they also serve an entire meal. So if you need a meal, or if you just feel like some company, or if your neighbors need a meal, get them over there, please. I have done the turkey carving. It's a lot of fun. It's hard work, but it is fun. So it's a great thing to participate in for our community. I did go to Unified Basketball. Again, our inclusion efforts with our special ed students over at Murrieta Mesa High School. I was very, very happy to see that Poway Unified School District there was a visit, brought an entire team, I think 10 or 12 people. Dr. Andrews? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because they saw our presentation at CSBA last December, and then have been doing Zoom meetings with us to learn more about it and how they can implement it. And they brought a whole contingent over to see it over at Mesa. They loved it. They thought it was awesome. I did attend the Hispanic Heritage Festival over at Murrieta Valley High School. It was their first one and wildly successful. They had crafts and food, great food, games, ballet folklorico. And so I think it's the start of something really wonderful over there that they're going to continue along with other cultural heritage nights. I was happy to be invited to the CPAC meeting, which is our Special Ed Parent Advisory Committee over at Chavela, and it's always a wonderful meeting to go there and just get brushed up on what parents are thinking in special ed. As well, I did go to Flagstaff for the Vista Murrieta High School Band of America's competition. It is a national competition. We did take second and seventh in the nation. So I'm going to stick with that until somebody absolutely corrects me. I did go to the Employee of the Month, or Employee of the Year celebration at McElhaney. It was wonderful and just so good to hear about all of our employees who are just giving 110%. It was awesome. And let's see, and I was very happy to be invited to the African American Parent Advisory Committee meeting just this week. And I want to highlight